should I call you Mr. Bruno? Should I call you like
Rossi.
Because your last name is Bruno, your first
Yes.
name's Ross. How would you prefer I call you?
Rossi's fine.
Rossi's
so
fine?
it's actually really weird. So my girlfriend currently, currently, yeah, I got a few.
Woo,
I got a few.
we started off great.
Hope she doesn't watch this. My girlfriend, when she met me, I was just like, ever since my professional career started, I feel like Ross is a little bit more professional than Rossi. So, just go by Ross, and then my dad goes by Ross. So it was easy transition. But so I met my girlfriend, introduced myself as Ross. Everybody that knows us knows me as Ross. And then we go back home to my hometown in Tampa, Florida for the first time, and everybody's calling me Rossi, and she's like, "Wait, is your name Rossi?" And I was like, "Well, like, yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, my full name's actually Rosario, but then like my dad and my grandfather are both Rosarios, so it's kind of like when you're a kid, you're Rossi, then when you grow up, you're Ross, and so yeah, but Rossi, because you know me through wrestling, so Rossi.
Rosario's also a pretty damn
it's
cool
pretty,
name.
It's
Like,
pretty
why
dope. Yeah,
I mean, at this
just
time,
too many syllables, man.
Fair. I don't know. If I had a cool name, I'd probably. I always thought the people that had like those old biblical names that like shorten them up. I was like, oh man, you're missing a great opportunity. We know a kid named Leonidas. Now that's not a biblical name, but that's like an old Greek name. And I thought to myself, he goes by Leo, and I'm like, bro.
It's the syllables, man.
But you're missing. Like, are you kidding me? If my name was Leonidas, I feel like,
Wait, so how do you pronounce your name?
Arion? Yeah,
Arion.
Yeah, I don't have 3 syllables, I think. Arion, yeah. I don't even have a middle name. Albanians, we just...
Albania. Oh, okay. I was going to say like Armenian or something.
Close, yeah. I'm in Balkan region, right?
Okay.
I always say like the Mediterranean people are... I feel like we're all the same, but like not.
A little bit different.
Like if I look at an Italian, it's kind of hard to distinguish like the difference between an Italian and Albanian. The hairline, maybe.
the hairline for sure. I'm right there with you, bro.
When I see a widow's peak, I'm like, my people.
Yep.
Outside of that, it's difficult. The culture is definitely different.
Well, I also feel like the whole Mediterranean was controlled by like 12 different empires, so it's like very like culturally diverse. Like Sicily, where my family's from, like Carthage owned that for years, like the Greeks owned it for years, the Romans, and it was like, I've never been there, but apparently the architecture is like, you can go through the island and be like, oh, this is when the Greeks were in power and the Carthaginians, so kind of cool.
And even when they did own it, like when you talk about like the old Macedonians, I mean, they were in direct conflict with the Persians at the time, but like would be modern day Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan type of ethnicities. I mean, they were trying to run it, right? So it was a highly contested area. And if you've ever been there, you can see why. It's beautiful.
Were you born in Albania?
I was.
I've heard it's really freaking cool.
Well, it's all of the Mediterranean countries are. Like
yeah.
Italy, Greece. Like I've never been. So I've been to Italy. I've been to Greece. I've been to Albania. They're all gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Like it astounds me at like the natural beauty. Like not as if America's not beautiful. Like I've been to California and places in California are beautiful. Same thing with Florida. I grew up in Florida, but like I don't know.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Where?
The Keys.
Ah, okay.
Back in the 95 to 97. So we left Albania when I was super little.
Okay.
Lived in Greece for like a year or two to get our papers to come over to America, and then lived over here since, about 3 years old. So we celebrated 30 years in America on, I believe it was May 18th.
Interesting.
Yeah, May 8th. No,
if you don't mind
not
me
May
asking.
18th, sorry. April 8th. Sorry, Dad.
Was your I know obviously that area of the world was very hot in like the late 80s, early 90s.
It was when the communist regime just fell. So the Iron Curtain collapsed.
Were like, all right, we need to.
But Albania was for those of you who need a little history lesson about communism. When the communist regime fell, the Albanian country was so scared of mass exodus and then having like a void of population that could be easily kind of taken over by neighboring countries. They kind of outlawed immigration out. So like what they did was they did like an immigration lottery. So they would essentially like run a number and like if you wanted to leave you could, but it was their way to do like a population control.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like communist regime fell, but then you have that like layover period where it's like, horses.
Hey, we need workers, we need people to do we can't
it sounds kind of
leave.
dark, but so my parents that's why we left when I was so little.
Did they win the lottery?
They won the lottery and it was use it or lose it. So my dad and my mom were like, we got to go.
What a decision though. Yeah. Like, hey, we have this one shot to like pack up and leave and, maybe have a better life. Maybe not. We don't know.
I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to like bash Albania. Albania at the time was not what it is now.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
have no
yeah.
problem saying this like openly. It was not a tough decision
Not at
in the
all,
sense
okay.
of like, will we have a better life elsewhere? It was a tough decision in the sense of like they had to leave family members.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like you
yeah.
can't take anybody else. It's like you, your wife, your kids. That's it. You know what I mean? So it was a little difficult for them in that sense because this was like pre cell phone, pre Facebook, pre whatever. So like, okay, we'll see you whenever we see you. I think it was about 10 years before my family like reunited after they left.
That's wild.
Yeah, because it was just a different time. But we lived in Greece for like 3 years. I don't remember Greece or Albania.
Okay.
My earliest memories of like consciousness were actually in Florida. So like I didn't even know I was Albanian until like I went to preschool. I was like, oh, well, I've always been here, so I thought I was American. Yeah, true story.
Yeah, that's wild though.
But
But
but I never felt like I never felt different, if
Yeah,
that makes
uh-huh.
sense. You know what I mean? It had to be told to me that I was, because I was just like, even with other immigrants, like, I don't know how to explain it. That quote of like, racism isn't born, it's learned, or like prejudice and stuff like that. I do believe it, because if you would have not told me that I was different from the guy to my left or my right, I would have grown up like totally ignorant.
yeah, yeah. I wish I had some insight there. I'm white bread, man. I never.
Were you born here?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, man.
So second
Um,
generation, third generation.
So my father is first generation Sicilian. My mother's family, her mother is Sicilian as well, but they came over way before World War II. My dad's family, if I'm getting the story correct, they came over. They left Sicily prior to World War II breaking out. Went to Argentina for a little bit, if I remember correctly, and then they came to the States. And yeah, and then
The rest
yeah.
is history.
yeah, the rest is history. They're all in Chicago though, so pretty close.
Is your grandfather? I want to be careful how I ask this. Are your grandparents still alive? Or?
Oh yeah. I'm actually very lucky. Never lost
God
a
bless.
grandparent.
Wow.
My parents are super young, so yeah, I guess kind of a good segue if we're gonna talk about wrestling. So my parents had me when they were young. Geez, if I can do math, I'm 33. They're 50, so they were like 21,
Early
22. But my dad was still competing in college wrestling and at Marquette University.
Also, even grew up in St. Louis.
No, Marquette in Milwaukee.
Sorry.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Okay,
He
Wisconsin.
grew up in Chicago area and then wrestled at Mount Carmel High School.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then got recruited to Marquette. But so like when I was born, like my dad was still like kind of like competing. I actually don't remember. I don't ever remember like really watching him compete in college, if it even happened. I don't really know the timeline exactly, but I definitely remember like being in the Marquette wrestling room as like, maybe 3-4 years old, and I just thought it was the coolest shit ever. Like, oh, my dad's doing this, and I get to like hang out with him, and just I loved the sport from the very beginning. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into wrestling. My dad was a college wrestler. They cut the program. In like early 90s, so they don't even have a D1 program anymore at Marquette. But
That's a shame.
yeah, it is. But yeah, and then just fell in love with the sport, and then 30 some odd years later, I meet you at St. Charles
I was
MMA.
gonna say. I think that's where we start
Yeah,
with
yeah.
how I met you, and then we'll work our way to like how you got into wrestling. But yeah, I met you for the first time, I believe, 3 weeks ago because you do the Sunday.
Yep.
Is it just exclusively Sundays, right?
Yeah, just Sunday nights, just Mike Rogers.
6 p.m. at St. Charles MMA.
6 p.m.
And it's
St.
open
Charles.
for like high schoolers.
Anybody. It's geared towards high schoolers for sure, but if there were little guys trying to get in there with a partner, that'd be more than fine. And the whole idea of it is, Mike probably better than I do, but I've known Mike for quite a number of years, and first interaction with him, just super gracious. Like, yeah, I have this gym, like, you're more than welcome to use it. I just want to grow the sport of wrestling. I want to grow the sport of jiu-jitsu. I want to grow the sport of MMA. He is all about just promoting the combat sports. But anyways, so yeah, I just, got approached by him and was like, hey, we should start doing some lessons.
Well, how did you get approached by him? Did you go to the gym first? Like, how
Oh,
did you guys
yeah,
even
I was
meet?
doing jujitsu there. Well,
Gotcha,
okay,
okay.
so this actually goes back to COVID times. I was in chiropractic school in Chesterfield, and COVID hit, lockdowns were going crazy, and I was just a year or two removed from SIUE, where I coached college wrestling. And they had a good 141 pounder at the time, and he didn't really have any workout partners. And then on top of that, like, Illinois was completely shut down.
Yeah.
You couldn't really wrestle. And they didn't know what was going to happen with their college season, but they were like, hey, we want to keep these kids on the mat. So the SIUE coach reached out to me and was like, hey, could you try to find a place for you and Saul to wrestle? Saul was the 141 pounder. And I was like, yeah, I'll put some feelers out, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up like Mike wrestled at SIUE back in the day. So we got contact with him. Obviously, his gym was up and running. Yeah, he let us go train there at the height of COVID. And yeah, it was really good because they ended up having a national tournament that year. And yeah, no, they canceled the national tournament that year, I think. But then the next year, I actually forget. I wasn't coaching college at that time, so I forget how it went. But anyways, he let me and this Saul kid train there pretty much for however long the real heavy lockdowns were, and then just always kept in contact with him through there. He has a son that wrestles at Francis Howell North. He's a freshman. And yeah, Mike's son's pretty tough. Shout out Lucas. And yeah, so he approached me about maybe doing some like private lessons with Lucas and some of his teammates. And then we just kind of grew it, and we're like, hey, like, we're not trying to make money off this, like whatever. Like if it comes to that, if it grows organically, maybe we'll talk about it then. But for right now, it's just offering kids in the area a chance to train for free and get some different partners. And yeah, really just kind of grow the sport. And yeah, we have your guys from Afton coming up. We have Francis Howell Central guys. We have Francis Howell North guys. Kids from CBC will come up there. Timberland. Yeah, we have a good group of people that roll through there. So
No,
yeah.
I loved what I saw. I thought it was really good, and it kind of it's a great thing, and it almost made me a little envious because I remember when I was coming up in wrestling.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm sure I like Perler was a thing even back then. Like there were programs and stuff like that, but like what's really keen about what you guys are doing is like this open welcome mat kind of mentality of like, hey, it's 1 day a week, just come in and get work from wherever you're from, doesn't really matter. And that's what attracted me towards it more than anything, was like this familiar mentality of just like, hey, we're just trying to grow the sport, we're just trying to grow these athletes, we're just trying to keep them active all year long. And that's just, it was big, and it is big because I don't think people understand, especially if they've been removed from athletics. I don't ever remember things being so competitive as they are today.
Just insane.
Yes, and I mean, kids are starting in sports even earlier than ever, and they're constantly doing it year round. So like, I this is where I wanted to start the conversation first. Is like, while I love that the sport of wrestling is growing, there is this part of me that is worried that it becomes a very unapproachable sport because you have such stud level athletes. Even as like freshmen, sophomores. Think about it. If you're, a freshman coming into wrestling, you have no idea what the sport of wrestling is, right? And you see a flyer at your high school, you're like, oh, I'll try that out. And 3 kids go to Perler on the
get mopped
and you just get destroyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the nice things about other sports, like team sports, is you can kind of hide within the numbers.
You
like
can
if you
ease
play,
into it.
You can play football, and you might be second string. You still get the pads, you still get the jerseys. You know what I mean? Wrestling is real intimate, and it's very brutal. And sometimes I worry, like, I want to simultaneously train the kids that want to be state champions and state medalists. But then, like, how do you make it inviting enough for, like, Toby started wrestling his freshman year. You'll still get the diamonds in the rough. I'm not saying that you have to start young, but that's my question for you is, like, do you feel like the sport of wrestling is getting so competitive that it's starting to lose some of that invitation? Or do you think I'm, like, hyper-analyzing this?
No, I think you're spot on, and I think yeah, I mean, you just look at freaking Jax Forrest winning an NCAA title as and people are gonna. He's a hellback. He's still a 19-year-old kid winning an NCAA tournament with half of a year experience in a college room. Like, that's insane. You got Bo Bassett. You got Melvin Miller, his teammate. You got all these high school kids. Just you can tell the level of skill is way higher as in the top 1% of high school wrestlers than it was probably when I was coming out of high school,
I would say
when
ever.
you were. And I think a lot of that,
which I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
I love that.
for sure. So, but yeah, I think that's important to recognize that. Like, for sure, there is. It's become ultra competitive. But yeah, I think there's always going to be room for those kids that just kind of like, they have that mentality where it's the sport of wrestling draws them in because they are prone to thinking a certain way, and then once they get in it, they're like, oh, like Pandora's box has been opened. Like I can like channel my like own internal thoughts and kind of mentality into this sport. And I think when you get a kid that is wired like that, you'll see like, hey, you're at this level when you start. 2 weeks later,
leaps and bounds.
And you're like, whoa, this kid freaking wrestled 2 years and he's a state champ. So I think wrestling always will lend itself, long story short, it will lend itself to letting those athletes shine. But it definitely takes a special type of athlete, special type of mentality, special type of upbringing, I would say as well. Way more competitive for like, I would say like, if you walk into a random high school and pick 10 kids out of the hall, like I would say less of a chance that any one of those kids is successful in today. But I think if you did that 20 years ago and you picked, that same 10 kid or a similar group of 10 kids and you had that one kid that made it, he made it then and he would make it now, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Implying that the framework or the building blocks of an individual that would supersede all these hurdles and still do well at state or possibly, some sort of national tournament like a Fargo or something, then they would still do well even in today's day and age. And then there also is the factor of like training. Like I will say this without question, the amount of knowledge at our fingertips today versus back when
it drives me
you're 33,
crazy.
you said?
Yes, 33.
So we're the same age. Okay, so I was class of 2011 high school.
I was 2012. Yep.
Okay, so I'm actually older than you. Sorry.
I was a holdback.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Forgive me. But so I remember when I was coming up, weight, like how to properly cut weight, proper nutrition, proper training methods. Like one of the coaches that I've had on here said that Dan Gable may have been one of the worst things for like U.S. wrestling. And I was like, damn, that's kind of a hyperbolic statement, but he was explaining it like that, the whole Dan Gable method of like, it should suck and grind your nose on the pavement until you're bleeding. It's like that's not sustainable for like the majority of wrestlers.
Do you know Nick Perler much or anything?
I know of him. I haven't gotten. He might be on this podcast. So.
You should. I freaking love the dude. He's a very smart individual, great businessman, obviously, great wrestling coach. But he had a good one on Instagram the other day. He was comparing, I forget what the main thing was, but he was comparing Iowa to Oklahoma State. He wrestled at Oklahoma State, obviously. And he was like, the Iowa style, you run into a problem, you just try to outwork that problem. At Oklahoma State, you run into a problem, you try to find another avenue to solve that problem. And I think, that's probably maybe a carryover from the Gable years. I don't really know because I was not a wrestling fan growing up. I just actually liked competing. So I don't really know what they were training like. I didn't pay attention, but
same here. By the
way. I just didn't care.
Realized,
I loved wrestling. I loved putting my hands on people and moving them around and winning. And
I remember thinking that this is wild that they let us do this in high school. I was like, you mean I can just strangle? Like I can literally just hold you down? Like this is wild. If I do this in any other aspect of high school, I get sent to the principal's office. But you throw a singlet on me, and now it's all good.
Everything's kosher. Yeah.
I also didn't realize how much. Like, I always thought that what I learned from the sport of wrestling I would carry over, right? But I never realized how much of, like, the techniques. We never called wrestling a martial art, ever. But it is.
Oh, for sure.
And, like, what you're really teaching these kids is self-defense. So then when I transitioned, when I met Mike and I transitioned to MMA, it was the easiest transition. In fact, fighting was far easier than wrestling.
Really? How many fights did you take?
I had 10 amateur fights and 8 professional ones.
Bro, you were active. In how many years?
Over the course, so the amateur fights was over the course of
2 months.
no, 4 years because I was still going to school,
okay.
And I told myself I didn't want to go pro until after I graduated.
That's fair.
So as soon as I graduated, 22 years old, 23 because December. I had 8 professional fights over the course of 6 years.
Dang.
Yeah. The professional, once you go pro, it's so hard to
get fights
because it's like the money and all this.
Protecting
the amateur was so easy. It was like, hey, you want to fight this weekend? I'm like, oh, I got finals.
Because your record resets after you go pro, right?
I'll tell you why it's hard for the professional because at the professional level, everyone's trying to get to the UFC. So no one wants to take a fight that they think they're going to lose. Everyone wants at least like a 60% chance they think they're going to win. There's a lot of politics. The promotions get involved. As an amateur, no one gave a fuck. They're like, whatever, test. You know what I mean? The amateur record resets. forgive me, but because
Well, that's what I was saying. So yeah, nobody really cares. It's like you take a loss in AME. Okay,
yeah, at the end of the
whatever.
day, the way we looked at the amateur ranks was like you're learning anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're gonna take your lumps, take them now, kind of thing, and then you kind of see what kind of cloth you're cut from. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I guess what I was trying to say is like wrestling. I always knew the things I learned about life from sports I would carry over, but it was also nice to realize that like, because I hate to say this way, like we're not the most intimidating people,
No,
like physically.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But one of the things that really gave me a lot of confidence is that knowing that like, okay, if something ever happened to me, I know at the very least I could take somebody down, I can kind of hold them down and just wait for help to come or something like that. And it made my life like a lot less anxiety, a lot less fear. I was much more pleasant to be around because I wasn't afraid
Yeah.
of like altercation. Not that I was searching for it, but if it happened, like I was at least capable to diffuse
Yeah,
the
yeah,
situation. I think that wrestling more than anything just creates really capable young people for life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the greatest. I'm biased when I say this because I wrestled, but I think it is the greatest high school sport for producing good people for society.
Well, I mean, yeah, it'd be hard to. I think it's hard to argue that.
Not that other sports
100%.
don't, but I think wrestling.
There's
There's
something
no sport like
special about
wrestling.
wrestling, though.
Yes.
I mean, what other let's say what other individual sports do you have in high school? Tennis.
Would you consider
Swimming.
track? Yeah.
Track.
Yeah. Okay. Outside of the relays or the medleys, yeah, I think that's it. Because baseball, basketball, volleyball, these are all team endeavors.
Yeah. So really, you have those four. And I'm sure there's more. Sorry if I'm wrong.
But how much of them are contact?
Yeah, and then you throw in the contact aspect. Okay, none of them. So wrestling is really the only individual contact sport. Like I think that alone, just that being the qualifiers of the sport of wrestling, like yeah, it definitely teaches you things that the other sports cannot because you're not put in that situation.
And also the only sport with weight classes,
Yeah.
which will always create a path
Equality,
for
yeah.
like every type of body. Like I loved football when I was growing up and basketball. And I played them as like a middle schooler, but then when I got to high school, I was like, what, 5'7", a buck 30? Like, what am I gonna do? Play, be a running back? Am I gonna dunk the ball as a seat? Like, I'm not gonna do any of these things.
Yeah.
But wrestling was the one sport, like, no matter what your body type, no matter like what pros or cons that God blessed you with, you can still find an avenue for competition in the sport of wrestling because of the weight classes. So I will say that there are a lot of things that are intimidating about the sport of wrestling. However, I would say that the invitation is actually kind of built in the sauce.
Oh yeah.
We have weight classes. We have a differential between like the JV and varsity, which other sports have. But we also have the ability for like the classifications of the schools, things of this nature. I love that wrestling is growing. I do. I just want to make sure that like in that growth, we don't like lose some of that. Does that make sense?
No, I get what you're saying to kind of wrap full circle with what you were talking about with the competitiveness. Yeah, like yeah, that definitely is a worry that it pushes kids away. And I think that's kind of why for girls wrestling specifically, like we're going to 3 classes next year. Do we need it? I don't know. I've been coaching in high school for a year, so I don't know the lay of the land as well as
I will
other
say
people,
that the girls, it's tough.
because you want to grow the sport, but you don't want to water down the competition. Because
Exactly.
obviously, if there's 3 state champions for every weight versus 2, like that's
Well, there's 4 for boys, but a lot more boys
oh yeah,
go
for
out.
4.
I think the rub that you get is actually, if I may, it's tough because not all the schools have a full lineup for girls.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I understand what you're saying, and like, but the fact that the districts, like I know our districts for girls had like 30 something schools, and I was like, that's kind of
same with ours.
yeah, that's kind of rough. You know what I mean?
Same with
When
ours.
when you only 4 go to state, I will say that it's kind of needed, but then not every school has a matchup.
It's tough.
Misha wouldn't do it if they didn't see the number. Like they see all the numbers, right?
Well, and I think that's they're trying to grow the sport, which I like women's wrestling. Like I'm the biggest advocate for it because obviously it gives these girls a chance to learn self-defense and to be in a sport traditionally dominated by males. I know there were like when we were wrestling in high school, like I was a lighter weight. I had to wrestle several girls, and like now for them to never have to worry about that, And on the flip side, for boys, never the high school boy losing to a girl,
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's crushing. That ruins a kid's career. So it is good you have that separation. But yeah, I think going to the 3 divisions, it's going to be good for the growth of the sport, which is good for women's wrestling growing, is good for wrestling growing, which is awesome.
Can I turn it on its head
Yeah.
and ask you about, while I stand behind my previous statement that, like, because you can start wrestling at little league at like 4 or 5 years old, you're getting to this like hyper competitive nature by the time they get to teenage years, right? I will also say that I've seen a lot of kids burn out
Oh yeah.
because of little league wrestling.
Yep.
And I'm sure you have as well.
Oh yeah.
So let's say you are a father of a 3-year-old daughter. What would be your advice from the perspective of, I want my daughter to wrestle,
Yeah.
but only if she wants to,
Mhm.
first and foremost, right?
Mhm.
No one told me to wrestle. Like my
Mhm.
parents never, like I said, I didn't know about it until high school. No one told me to fight. I always did the things I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And I think the reason I had found so much success in all these
You
things was
wanted to
because
do
it was a product of passion,
Yeah.
not a necessity. So while I will, I have my daughter around wrestling because I
Mhm.
coach it and she seems to be having fun with it. And if she naturally gravitates towards it,
Sweet.
you know what I mean? Awesome. But I won't push it on her. But then I thought to myself, like, okay, the odds are greater that she will like this sport versus not like it just based on proximity. So then when do I start her? Where do I start her? Like, I don't want to coach her because
Yeah.
I personally don't like that paradigm. Like, I want other people to coach my
Yeah.
daughter. And I'll watch. And I love how Mike does it with the Francis Howell coaches. Like, he's there, he'll
Yep.
cheer him
Mhm.
on. No one would say that Mike couldn't coach his son. Like,
Mhm.
he's definitely credentialed enough, knows enough,
Mhm.
but he still does it. I love that approach.
No, for sure.
So like my advice, or my not advice, my inquiry to you is, we've both seen burnout because of Little League wrestling in wrestlers. Do you think there's like a right time to start? Do you think there's right programs? Like, where do you think that
Yeah.
burnout stems from? Do you think it's
Oh.
familiar burnout, not necessarily on wrestling?
I think well, number one, I think to get a young child interested in the sport of wrestling, I think you just have to show them good role models, like maybe take them to a Maryville wrestling match, a Mizzou match, an SIUE match, and then, or, the US Open, you take a trip to wherever the US Open is, and then, especially for a girl, they see these 25, 30-year-old women, like, freaking beating somebody's ass and freaking holding up a big-ass stop sign at the end, and everybody's cheering. I know that's what I enjoyed watching when I was a little kid. So yeah, I think just kind of like you said, making sure the proximity of the sport is there if they want to. Like, hey, babe, I'm going to practice. Do you want to come with? And you can hold the stopwatch or something. Like, just giving them opportunities. But yeah, you can't push in a sport like wrestling. I've
Yeah.
seen kids break time and time again. And on the flip side, I've also seen kids, maybe break in that 6th, 7th grade, and their parents were smart enough to, back off. And then by the time high school rolls around, and especially by senior year, those same kids that didn't wrestle for 5th and 6th, 7th grade are freaking getting D1 scholarships and then becoming All Americans. So yeah, I think you just have to be in close proximity to the sport if that's what you want. Show them good role models, and that was what kind of motivated me. Actually, kind of funny. I grew up in Wisconsin, and Ben Askren is from Wisconsin, and I was like a little kid watching him win high school state wrestling
shit.
titles, and my whole little league career. Ben Askren was my favorite wrestler, and I wanted to go to the University of Missouri. Had never been to Missouri in my life, but he went there, and I was like, oh, that's badass. I want to be like Ben Askren. And it was actually so funny. So my girlfriend now, she's never been around wrestling, and obviously, like, I don't talk about anything I've done in the past with wrestling. She just knows I was, wrestled in college, blah, blah, blah. And then one day she was like, you were actually kind of good. Like, I want to, like, look you up and, like, let's go through some of your old stuff. So we went through some old matches, but this is the cool thing. So we went back to, like, when I was, like, they called it schoolboy. So I was, like, maybe like 9, 10 years old. That's the age group. And I'd won the nationals for little kids. And USA Wrestling does a little blurb for all the national champions. And it was like, who's your favorite wrestler? Like, where do you want to wrestle in college? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't even know this was out there. So she was quizzing me on it. And yeah, she was like, who was your favorite wrestler back then? What, like Ben Askren. Where'd you want to wrestle in college? University of Missouri. And sure enough, like those are the two things. It's just kind of funny. Yeah. It was pretty funny. Mizzou didn't recruit me though. What's up with that? Also never wrestled a Mizzou guy in my 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, they always had good guys. I think I don't remember who was there my first few years, but then John Ernesti was there for a little bit. Alan Waters was there, but I think he was always at 25. But anyways,
Alan was a stud.
he was a fucking dog.
Alan
He was a dog.
Alan
What is
Waters,
he up to these days?
I don't know, but I will tell you this story. There was a guy named Denny Kleinschroden who was like my rival.
Okay.
And he was from Seckman. He was from Seckman.
Okay.
And he ended up losing to Alan at the state championship, which would then be Alan's 4-time state championship.
Okay.
But I remember thinking that Denny was like the fucking man. He was so tough. Every time I had to wrestle him, it was just nails. And I don't think I ever beat him. Like I wrestled him like 4 times, and I knew who he was, and every year he beat me. You know what I mean? The losses got better over the course of time, but he was a Perler kid. Anyway, I saw Denny wrestle Alan Waters at the state championship. Alan Waters' senior year, and I didn't know who Alan Waters was, but I knew that Denny was my rival, and I was like, oh my god, he's wrestling for the Class 4 state championship. Like, I hope he wins. Like, this is gonna be amazing. And then Denny
Alan tooled him,
and then Denny gets pinned
Alan
in like
was
a
good.
minute. And that match, I think it was like my sophomore year when that match happened. That match like opened my eyes to like, there's levels to this shit.
I mean, like with anything, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to like catch up to this guy. Meanwhile, there's another guy completely on a different, and no offense to Denny, like Denny's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
So like I am not trying to poo-poo on him. Like I said, he beat me, you know what I mean? So what would Alan do to me, right? But I remember Alan Waters was a fucking stud. He got signed to Mizzou right after that.
Oh, yeah.
He walks off the mats and he like signed with Mizzou and then went and did an interview.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like that is so, that I thought that was so cool. That could happen. You know what I mean?
He was a
And
dog.
so sorry, when you said Alan Waters, my eyes like kind of lit up. I was like, yeah, he's a fucking dog.
Oh yeah. I wrestled him when I was little, but never in college. And then the year I All American.
When you say little, you mean like
when
Little
I was
League.
growing up in Wisconsin, like
because he would have been a little older than you.
he was like a year older.
Yeah,
than me.
yeah.
Yeah. But like when we're in like schoolboy nationals, cadet
Yeah.
nationals.
It's kind of like bands. Of
Exactly,
age.
exactly. And then the other kid that I would always wrestle, Cody Brewer.
Also from Missouri.
Yep.
Also, I think Cody was
Park
class.
Hill kid.
Yeah, I think Park Hill was. Oh man, I don't want to do this dirty. Sorry, Cody. I know of Cody as well.
I think they were big schools.
Yeah, I think Cody was class 3.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
I could be wrong on this one.
He
guys,
was
forgive
a
me.
little bit smaller in high school too.
He was same weight class though.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because Cody Brewer was another guy that I
Wait,
would.
did Waters and him wrestle in the? No, because they were 4 and 3. So they might have never. crossed.
So they never wrestled at state because they were
Yeah.
different classes.
Okay,
But I remember Cody Brewer, Alan Waters, Mac Bailey before that.
Yeah, kid
Mac
was a
Bailey
dog
was a
too.
stud. Dude, we're just gonna go down. There was who else came out of? Obviously, like Jaden Quee came up. Did I ever tell you about my story with Jaden Quee?
No.
So I met Jaden Cox. Sorry, I shouldn't say Quee. Jaden Cox, who would then go on to wrestle for Mizzou and also the Olympics. His
Trained at Michigan.
Yes, his like freshman year or sophomore year was my senior year.
Okay.
So we're down there at state. We're going out for the medal matches or something like that. And he's like cool as a cucumber, even though he's younger than me. And I just start talking to him or whatever. And he was telling me a story, and this blew my fucking mind. He was telling me a story about how he bumped up a weight class because his buddy like couldn't beat him, and then his buddy was gonna be like a senior, and like he's like, I didn't want to take away that guy's senior year, so I just bumped up. And Jaden would go on to win
a
state
title, yeah.
and he was like pudgy for that way. Like he didn't look good, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking like, holy shit, like if you would have told me, Arion, would you give up your weight class for anybody? I would have been like, no way.
So I don't know Jaden personally, but after he left Mizzou, I don't know if he was coaching there, training there. He went to Michigan to train. Everybody I know
Loves him.
dude, like nicest dude in the world.
Yeah.
And like you see his interviews, yeah, he's obviously happy go lucky.
He's also, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
for
I just
sure.
met the guy and he was like, I'm sitting there like getting ready, amped. Jaden's like dancing, like having a fucking blast. I remember thinking to myself, even to that, like even in my days in MMA, I tried to like copy that. That zen.
Yeah,
The ability to be completely cool right before a battle.
Yep.
Like that's just there's a specialty to that guy.
Oh, for sure.
So obviously now with like hindsight and everything, but I remember thinking to myself like, this guy's special even back then. He was younger than me too, and I was like, this is wild.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, how much, like, not that he is faking it, but like he has to feel something, like a little bit of, or does he not? Is
I
he
don't
just a
know.
freak?
I think
Like,
that,
I think it's one of the. It's either. Well,
you think
no,
they mask it,
there's
or
always outliers that probably just don't feel anything. He might be one of
he
them,
might be.
but I feel like most 90% of people that come off like that, they still have some internal anxiety. How do you freaking be that cool? I'm not that way, man. If I'm anxious, like I can act cool, but like if you know me, you'd be like, yeah, he's a little
Yeah.
nervous.
I was nervous before every competition.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Before
I would
every
get
match,
super.
before every fight,
Yep.
no matter what. And I always thought to myself, like, when will I get over this? When will I get over
Yeah.
this? It was never the fear of getting hurt or anything like that. It was always the fear of losing, coming up short.
You were just talking about just like, ancient warriors or however you phrase it. You ever think about what those guys felt?
Oh, right before the
Jesus.
war.
Like, dude, fuck.
I
I'd piss and shit.
I
my
think
pants.
that's why there's like some sort of genealogy to like world leaders and like psychopathic tendencies. 'Cause
100%.
I think in order to like climb those ranks, you have to be comfortable with the
I-
loss of your life or just loss of life
I was literally just having this conversation with
to a way
somebody
that's like
yesterday.
unhealthy.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause think
You
about
just
it,
don't
like
feel it.
yeah, there's like this is gonna be stupid, but it's actually a Game of Thrones quote when
Love Game of Thrones.
yeah, but it's a fantasy genre, but it was a very good quote that I was like, oh my god, like that was so deep. It's when Ned is talking in the chamber. He's like, you spent your life with the aristocracy and all
Mhm,
these
mhm.
royalties and you think that your life is so precious to hold on to. He's like, I grew up with soldiers. I learned how to die a long time ago.
Yeah.
And not that like what we're doing is anywhere near that, but I do think that there is something to be said about the proximity to savages and like that whole mentality of like if you're the biggest fish in your room, like
You need to find a new
you need to
room,
find
yeah.
a new room.
Yeah.
I think there is something special about the sport of wrestling because it's a uniquely individual sport. Like think about football, for instance. Like yeah, you can go to some combines and things like that, but like how do you move a whole team to be better and stuff like that? It's difficult, right?
Yeah.
But in the sport of wrestling, I mean, you can go, okay, those guys are cool. All right, I'm going to go train with them for a month. And you can come back a completely different human being.
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
So I grew up in Milwaukee, but I moved to Tampa, Florida. Number one, so two things. You said you don't want to be your daughter's coach. So my father was my coach all growing up. I had some other coaches, like his college coach at Marquette coached me a little bit, but my dad was like, had a club. He would bring all the good kids in the area. And then, so he had this club, and then, not that we were going to get all of these kids to wrestle at the same high school, but like it started becoming clear, like, okay, this kid's not moving. Like this kid's going to go to this high school. And like my dad started realizing like, oh shit, like he's not going to have any workout partners at the high school he was a head coach, a wrestling coach at the high school. He's not going to have any workout partners. So then
What do you mean by that? Meaning like you were so advanced?
not to like toot my own horn,
No,
but
no.
yeah, like I was like one of the best kids in the state. My dad had this club, Team Adrenaline, where yeah, it's funny, where like all the good kids in the area would come and train, right? And then when this was in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade, some kids started going their own way, they're getting to high school. And my dad, the idea was, hey, let's try to get all these kids to move into the area. Like their families are all friends. And
So
then
he was
we can
thinking
all.
about that even when you were
Yeah,
little.
yeah. He was
Building a
thinking,
team.
yeah, 100%. He was always my coach. And so
That's a lot of
anyways.
foresight.
Yeah.
Shout out,
My
Dad.
dad's super smart.
Yeah.
So this was the other smart thing he did. My dad's awesome. But so that team started kind of fracturing, and then my parents hated the winters. They were already thinking about moving somewhere south. My grandparents live in Dallas, so we were thinking about maybe moving there. I was going to wrestle at, do you remember Bishop Lynch High School? They were a really good team when we were in high school. But
Do they not exist anymore?
I don't think they're any good.
Sorry.
But they had 2 kids. I forget the kid's name. They were a solid team nationally. So we were thinking about moving down there. We were thinking about maybe moving to Crown Point, Indiana, where my grandparents live. And that's where like the Surtis brothers went. Jesse Mendez went to that high school. So just trying to get somewhere, number one, warm, and then where I would have good partners.
So they were fully ready to relocate
So
just
get
for your
that.
high school career.
So
Holy shit, that's commitment.
I think it was 6th grade summer, so going into 7th grade. So my 6th grade summer, went up to the little kids freestyle and Greco nationals, and this kid from Florida fucked me up. Both styles, freestyle and Greco, just fucked me up.
How demoralizing was that?
And I did not like lose much. So like my parents were like,
Who is that
kid from Florida just whooped his ass. They like started talking to the parents and Brandon, Florida, like that's where we're from, blah blah blah. And so then my parents were like, oh, Brandon, Florida, like that's on our radar. So yeah, literally that was that summer. I went to like middle school in Wisconsin that 7th grade year until like maybe October, November, and we packed up and moved to Tampa. Yeah.
Wow.
So my parents literally moved across the country. And so I guess long story short, part of the reason was we wanted to go somewhere warm, but then this high school they found out, oh shit, they're nails and they have a bunch of good kids.
I should have asked this earlier. Do you have any siblings?
I have a little brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the delta in age?
4.
4 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we never overlapped.
Okay, you were never in high school with him because my brother's 3.5, and we barely made the cut.
Yeah,
he was a senior when I was in high school.
never.
Did he also wrestle? Or?
He did. He wrestled at Ohio University. He was a 2-time state champ in Florida.
So he wasn't. So forgive me for saying. That's why I asked. So it
yeah.
wasn't just solely for you, but it was actually like an 8-year play, right? Because you're gonna have your 4 years, and he's gonna have his 4 years.
Frank, if you're watching this, sorry, but I think it was mostly for me. He hated wrestling for the longest time. Like hated it. Like my parents always tell this story of he was pretty young, maybe like 6, 7, but they're trying to get him to wrestle.
Sorry.
God, you're bad.
I'm around high school.
I forgot about that.
doing...
I haven't been around high school kids much lately.
Man,
but
I learned all the lingo. I'm your guy.
So stupid too. Like, how did that become a thing?
Dude, half
Anyways,
the shit we used to say weird.
That's true.
Like ham. I always have to remind myself, like, we were equally as dumb.
For sure.
And we thought we were so cool. So
You're
let them
right,
have
you're
their
right.
fun.
But
sorry, your brother.
So my brother's real little, and like they're trying to get. They tried to like force him into wrestling because they're like, hey, like you're gonna be good at it, blah blah blah. He was not having it, and he wrestled this one match one time, and he stops the match in the middle. He's like 6, 7 years old. My heart, my heart, my heart. And my parents weren't coaching him, and one of the coaches from our team runs up to our parents and is like, does Frankie have a heart problem? They're like, no, he's fine. He just doesn't want to wrestle. So that was like, he did not like wrestling much. So it was mostly for me, for sure. And then just getting out of the cold weather. My parents hated the winters. Wisconsin sucks in the winter. Beautiful in the summer. But yeah, I don't know how we got there. But yeah, that's kind of how we moved to Florida. So you're talking about, kids, trying to seek out the best competition. My parents literally moved cross country.
Well, it also bounces off my idea of like the hyper competitive nature of sports too. Because like if you would have told me in high school, I didn't even know some of these things existed. I only wrestled when it was wrestling season.
Yep.
Little did I know that the other guys were wrestling year round until like my junior year, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to beat these guys unless I take it as serious as they do. But then there's levels to that shit. Even like I couldn't even imagine if I told my dad like, hey, we gotta move because there's a freaking high school in another state that's like nails, and I want to be a bet. My dad would have been like, yeah, okay, I gotta go to work. See ya. You know what I mean? So I think it's very. I want to make sure that you understand that I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah.
You know
it's my parents freaking. They did everything.
Yeah,
for,
the sacrifice
for me and my
that is for them to do that for their kids is like it's very. I'm a father, so it's kind of touching.
Yeah,
Because I love my daughter, and to hear something like that, I'd like to think that if my daughter came to me and she was, it doesn't have to be wrestling, but passionate about anything, like, Dad, I really want to be the best swimmer or the best track star, whatever the fuck, I'd be like, okay, how can we get you to that promised land if that's what it takes? But I also, I'm going to be careful how I say this. I think the way that the portal system works and the name, image, and likeness for universities now, I think that is, it used to be that you wanted to push for the hyper-competitive nature to get like college scholarships. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in high school, we never thought about money. It was just about getting a free education. If wrestling could be my vehicle to an education, great. You know what I mean? I'll get a degree as a byproduct of all this hard work. Yep. Now, I had David Mirkatani on, and we were talking about like the lucrative nature of college wrestling now. Let me ask this question, and I hate to do it to you. Is there any part of you that's like a little salty that kind of came?
For sure, dude. I would have got paid, bro. And I like my teammate Eric Grajales. So we were talking about all these high school kids like placing in college opens. he wasn't like the first, but around our age, he was like one of 2 high school kids placing at college opens.
Jesus.
He would have got real paid. In Michigan, they have unlimited funds, any of these Big Ten schools. So yeah, I'm salty.
Sorry.
No, it's no big. It would have changed so much, though. You know,
That's
what
what I was
mean?
gonna ask,
It
like-
would have changed so much.
Do you think it has changed so much?
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
It's kind of wild to see in real time, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
yeah, it's
But I'm torn
yeah.
because I'm all like, I come from fighting, which is like no money. So I'm like, dude, if you guys can make a bag, I can't fault anybody. But then it's like, are you now doing like a disservice? And then I'm also going to ask you later on about like MMA and that whole picture. But let's stick to this one first. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
do you think it's helping?
If
or hurting
I
the
would have
sport?
had $100K in the bank freshman year, of
not just
frickin'-
not just that, but like the ability to, you know, when you were making the decision for the school, it was like solely, I'm sure,
Oh, okay.
on like variables of like who's going to give me the most
Yes,
money, who's going to cover most of.
Prestigious,
Yeah, like, am I going to be D1? Am I going to be D2? Am I going to be wrestling in the Big Ten or the SEC or what have you? You know, it's like there were variables that were going into it that were kind of pure,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're
But
saying.
now you're adding that paradigm of like the lucrative nature, and I've heard of coaches saying that it's an absolute nightmare now to coach kids because they don't even have the mentality of like staying at a school for 4 years. They have a mentality of like, I'll
I'm
stay
gonna
here
test
for a
the
year
waters,
and then
yeah.
I'll see what I can get, basically like kind of make a name for myself and get a better offer. And it's, I don't know if I don't know if this is a good, like a net good or a net negative. There's, for the individual, it's a net good, obviously, but for the sport of wrestling.
Well, is it though? I mean, I'm sure having money, as if like you're not managing it well, that could lead to.
Well, what if you would have got $100K?
That's what I'm saying. I would have spent on stupid stuff.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I
you
mean?
would have learned the
Actually, my
lessons.
parents would have probably been like, "Yeah, right. Like you're not. We'll take care of this. Like we'll manage it for you, or we'll get whatever it is." But yeah, I think it's there needs to be some type of. And I don't know. I haven't been out of college wrestling. I don't know if there is oversight. If there's like, you know, financial advisors at these universities are allowing these kids access to. But yeah, I think it does change things, and it can go one of two ways. You could be really smart with it, or you could do a bunch of stupid stuff with it. So obviously, when it wasn't an option when I was there, so it was, you know, you're a poor college kid, no matter how good you are, and yeah, so. Yeah, there was no other option. But yeah, I think more so than the money, or more so than these kids, college wrestlers wanting to jump ships too soon to test the waters elsewhere. I think it's also really bad for these smaller universities like SIUE. Like,
if you don't have the funds,
they're just not gonna be able. Not many, and this isn't just SIUE. This is like a Campbell University. This is a maybe even like a University of Tennessee Chattanooga. You know, all those like mid-major schools, a Northern Illinois, like they don't have the funding that a Michigan or an Oklahoma State or a Penn State or a Ohio, like they just don't. And it's I would hate to see these littler programs, not littler, like smaller population schools lose their programs just because they can't
feel
compete.
like they can't compete. Yeah. And that's what I was kind of alluding to, was like you're getting this aggregation of resources, not just from the perspective of money, but then the coaches, right? Like the amount of money that coaches are making now, which, by the way, like I want to do this caveat, like I love that everybody's making money. Like I want to make sure that that's known.
Yeah.
But then there's like this part of me that's like, is this sustainable then for like the next generation? And if it is, does it morph? Does it change? Like what you were saying, like do we see less programs because now it's going to become hyper competitive to a fewer number of programs? So then actually there's less opportunity over the course of time because of that.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm kind of viewing like in real time, just like everybody else. I think it's a net positive, but I think there needs to be some guardrails with like caps.
For sure.
Like maybe you make the cap. I'm just throwing some bullshit out here. Like make the cap like $100K a year, and like you can, all these schools can pay the kids whatever, but no school can pay more than $100K a year.
Standardize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you could, you know, make the argument of like, who's to say how much that should be and all these other things. But like, I think that's where we start with then allowing, because that's what they have. Like, isn't there like something like that in like the NFL, MLB? Like, don't they have like certain caps or like how much they can pay as like a team. Maybe I'm
Oh yeah,
incorrect.
salary cap definitely exists for every sport except I think baseball.
I'm not 100%
think.
sure. To be frank, I don't really watch much sports. Like for me, I'm much more of like a like wrestling, fighting kind of guy. I'm not really like a big NFL, MLB. Like I love watching them if they're on, but I'm not really keen on what's going on. I guess my thing is just this whole unfettered thing is what kind of drives me a little nuts because it's like the amount of money that's being thrown out there, the amount of aggregation of resources, which will inevitably result in the same thing that happens with markets, right? It's like if you take like 10 companies and 2 of them are just like outstanding, if you don't have some sort of antitrust action or legislation or something, that's why we have a mixed economy, right? It's like you want to create enough competition that you can't, price gouge or collude or do any of these things. And they do that from the perspective of a market to create the best service or good for the cheapest price.
Mm-hmm.
But to take that analogy to the sport of wrestling, it's like if you only have 16 schools that go to the NCAAs, what happens to everybody else?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you don't go to these 16 schools, you won't be there. So like, does anybody pay attention to them? Does anybody care? And because the amount of resources and money is so great, that the drop off in terms of talent is just so substantial. So like the idea of like maybe starting at a D2 and possibly moving to a D1 if you're performing really well, or even just starting at like a D1. I just worry about that whole ladder system if all we're doing is just hyper focusing on the extreme winners. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This was. I don't know if this is still in place, but I think it was about a year ago. If you go JUCO nowadays, you don't lose any eligibility. So
Which is wild.
Yeah, so it's like kind of sucks for those like, hey, this kid could go D1, D2, but also like at the same weight, there's this JUCO kid that just won JUCO nationals. Like we're gonna give him the money instead of this high school kid who's unproven.
Can you explain what eligibility means for like those that aren't?
Yeah. So oh geez, I'm gonna have to go through my. So when I was going to college, you have 4 years of 4 seasons of eligibility. And you could fit them in. Actually, don't think there was a limit on the number of years, but typically people would do 5 years of school. You take a red shirt at some point in those 5 years, and then that red shirt means you can't compete in like the conference tournament, the national tournament. But it's essentially like a development year. So a lot of kids would do the 5 years with a red shirt in there, and then they'd compete at nationals or have a shot at for 4 years.
Just to add to that, I think it's also much more sustainable because I think to be a college athlete is just so difficult because you're going to school full time, training full time. I mean, you're basically a professional athlete, right? You're getting paid to do what you're doing. I think the whole course loading in 4 years and then moving that to 5 years, and then also allowing for like that off year, that red shirt year to be kind of like the recovery year or whatever. I just think it's like smart. I think it's a byproduct of a lot of factors, but I think when you look at it objectively, it's just intelligent to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
forgive me.
For sure. Well, and I said all that. I think that rule just changed. They just changed how it works. I don't know the details, but it's not like that anymore. But yeah, so now a lot of kids would go JUCO if they wanted to stay local or something. So you go to a JUCO, you can do that for 2 years. So you graduate high school at 18, you do 2 years in JUCO, so 19, 20, and then you can get recruited by an NCAA D2 or D1 school and still have your 4 years. So
Which is wild.
Yeah, it's huge.
And for any athlete that understands like those development years.
And again, I'm not 100% sure that's how it works now, but I just remember reading that. That definitely was a thing.
But also just the competitive advantage at those years specifically, because the difference between like a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old is immense. The difference between a 20-year-old and a 22. I know for me personally, man, like 18-year-old me, 20-year-old me, 22-year-old me, like I finally hit my like man frame by about 25. 25 was like my body stopped changing.
Yep.
But like I remember thinking like, oh, puberty 13, 18. No, 13 like 25.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I'm just saying like the difference between like starting college at 18 versus 20 is immense.
Well, then
starting college, sorry.
Brain development too.
Yes.
Like physical
maturity.
Side, like, yeah.
I'm sure they're easier to coach. They're just older people now.
Yeah.
More mature.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of going back to your thing with all this money getting thrown around with college sports. I was just thinking in my head, like, the only way to keep kids in your program, if you're like that mid-tier, maybe, like, I'm just throwing out a name, mid-tier wrestling, not mid-tier, they're good, like frickin' in NC State, they have a national champ, but probably they were top 10 in the country team-wise. So in NC State, you know, they probably have a little bit of money, but you have a kid that wins nationals and still has eligibility left, I'm sure there's going to be some other teams poking around. Like, how do you keep that kid there? I think really the only thing you have to hang your hat on, two levers you could pull: get him paid, or just make sure he had the best experience and was in the best situation possible that he would want to stay. But outside of that, yeah, you can't do much of anything. So I think coaches are probably having to evolve quite rapidly in terms of just becoming better coaches, like the science of coaching. I'm sure a lot of coaches are doing a lot of reading these days. Like, this kid that maybe 5 years ago I would have let slip through the cracks, like, how do I connect with him? How do I make sure he feels, I don't want to say comfortable because that's a dumb word, but
foster a culture.
Yeah, how do I make him feel like he's part of a family here that he doesn't want to leave? Because I think wrestlers in general, again, my experience with wrestling, I didn't really play other sports, but wrestlers, from my experience, some of the most loyal people you will meet. And I would like to think that you see a lot less wrestlers in the transfer portal per capita, for lack of a better term, than maybe football, baseball, basketball. I'd actually be interested to see that stat. I'm sure it's out there. But
there's also less wrestlers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah,
that's why you said the per capita. Forgive me.
But yeah. So I wonder, how these coaches are kind of evolving too. Because is it easier to coach a 25-year-old? Because a lot of these kids are that age now with these red shirts and the COVID year and all that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely an evolving landscape for sure.
One of the sports that I think is like a double-edged blade is actually also MMA, for the sport of wrestling, because it simultaneously promotes wrestling, but also poaches from wrestling.
For sure.
So I was going to wrestle for the University of Central Missouri, which was a D2 school, I believe, at the time.
The Roger Denker Open, man.
Yeah. And that was the school that I was going to go to. And then I was also going to go there to be a teacher, because they had a top 10 in the nation education program for education. So I was like, okay, I'll go to UCM.
Yeah.
I'll become a math teacher, and then I'll coach wrestling. It was like the plan. Some things changed to where I had to stay at home. My mother became terminally ill.
Oh, jeez,
and
dude.
that last year was like the best time I've ever spent with her. But one of the downsides of that was I had to go to UMSL. And shout out UMSL. I'm very happy that I'm a Triton. But UMSL didn't have a wrestling team. So they had a top 10 in the nation finance program. That's actually how I was like, okay, well, I was going to go math, finance, numbers, whatever. It doesn't matter if there's a dollar sign in front of her, whatever. But because UMSL didn't have a wrestling team, I was like, okay, I guess I'm done, you know. And that's when MMA was starting to come up, and I don't think I would have ever looked at MMA if UMSL had a wrestling team. I think I would have tried to walk on and just been an UMSL wrestler, even if they were like NAIA. It wouldn't have mattered to me. I would have just wanted to be happy to continue the sport of wrestling. But because it didn't, I started looking at MMA. Having wrestling in MMA, especially like 12, 13, 14 years ago, 15 years ago actually now, was like a superpower.
Yeah, cheat code.
You know what I mean? Now it's like a dime a dozen. It's the barrier to entry. But I'm starting to see the narrative for wrestlers to be MMA and not college wrestling, or not like to move up and then possibly commit to the Olympics. You know what I mean? And that is like a weird one for me, because like I'm seeing it from a high school coach perspective. Like, I know some of the kids, like Ivan last year was only in high school wrestling, he didn't want to go to college. He wanted to be a tradesman. And he wanted to fight. So like, he was like, hey, like, you're basically training me martial arts for free. Why wouldn't I take it? Yeah. So like, this
is one of your tough kids?
Last year. He graduated now. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I didn't know how to feel about that, because I'm like, well, if it wasn't for MMA, I would have never gotten Ivan. Ivan would have never even done wrestling, right? But because of MMA, like, he had no dreams of like doing anything else past this point. Like, that was it for him. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I don't want to go to college and all these other things. So I'm curious to ask you, like, what do you think MMA, like, what role do you think mixed martial arts now plays in the sport of wrestling? Do you think it amplifies it? Do you think it dilutes it? Do you think it hurts it or helps it?
Uh, I'm in the camp. I think it's great for wrestling. I think the popularity in wrestling and MMA have kind of gone at the same time and the same rate. Um, been huge for women's wrestling, I think, because now all of a sudden these girls are watching. If you have any inclination towards combat sports, okay, almost every. Well, if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch or One FC. The UFC has a card every
Wow.
freaking Saturday. It's so accessible, and again, they have a lot of females fighting, so I feel like that's for girls. What else do you have besides wrestling and jiu-jitsu? Striking is few and far between. Our opportunities to do that few and far
No, I
between.
was gonna say like the pay discrepancy between boxers and MMA people. Like for all that you want to say, that's more of like on the men's side. If you do the inverse for the genders, women MMA fighters on average make so much more than boxers.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I think Serrano versus I forget. Sorry, I'm
No,
gonna
I'm not. I'm
I'm gonna
not.
draw a
I'm not
blank on
gonna.
who Serrano versus they fought a couple times, but that was like the first like one of the first fights that I think females fought where they made like over $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was like the cream of the crop for women's boxers.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got women's MMA like Ronda Rousey cleared that easy. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Ronda's a bad example. Well, actually, not a bad example because it's like oftentimes Floyd Mayweather is like the poster child for men's boxing, but that's like the enigma, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
like the
Mm-hmm.
exception, not the rule. So I feel comfortable doing that. Like Ronda Rousey would out earn any of these female boxers 10-1. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So like in that sense, women have a lot to look forward to in
For
that
sure.
prospect. Women's combat sports has only made things better.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the case for men, but that's a
No, no, no,
conversation
no,
for a
for sure,
different
for sure.
podcast.
So I think that's number one. I think it's part of the reason women's wrestling is exploding. The fastest growing high school sport participation wise in the country, women's wrestling. So I think MMA has a huge part to play in that, among other things. But I think clearly that's one of them. And then I also think MMA has made the upper weights a lot more competitive in wrestling because I think now you have this 12, 13-year-old kid that's already 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, playing football. He might see an MMA thing or college wrestling's on TV too, and he's like, huh, I can make millions of dollars if I'm the best in the world at this. Whereas that wasn't the case. You had to play basketball, football, hockey to make that money, and now there's an outlet for a combat athlete to make that money. Then you throw in like RAF. I don't know what they're paying those guys, but they got to be paying those guys well. So sports like that, these younger kids are seeing that, and
Forgive me, for those that don't know what RAF is, it's a new promotion that started here in America that
they're in
is
St. Louis in June.
yeah, for their
Yeah,
next
yeah,
card.
yeah.
Yeah. It's essentially like take the UFC model or the Bellator model, like an MMA model, and they're doing that now for the sport of freestyle wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing like good events that are generating revenue. I think
Mhm.
they're going to be on their 11th show here
Yep,
soon.
yep.
And this is like a relatively new phenomenon, or not phenomenon, but a relatively new
Yeah.
thing. Because I can't remember the last time like there was an avenue for wrestling to
Yeah.
make money decoupled from the Olympics.
Yeah, there was nothing. The regional training centers at these big universities would pay you to train there. I don't know what it is now, but I think, back when we were in college, you want to train, you probably make 50, 60, 70K. If you're a little bit better, maybe you're raking in six figures just to train, not a bad deal. But
it's
again,
phenomenal, yeah.
again, your lifespan on the competitive scene is,
At that
if you're
level.
lucky, upper 20s, early 30s, and then you're done. So yeah, I think MMA has done a lot to grow the popularity of wrestling, and just I think it's like MMA is a very MMA and wrestling, like I feel like it embodies kind of the American spirit a little bit. Just like, hey, like be hard nosed, like work for everything you get out of something, and I know that's not uniquely American, but like I feel like it's very easy for blue collar Americans to appreciate that kind of sport, And
It's
you know,
also
that's where
validating to see how dominant it is in MMA.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And wrestling.
Yeah, it's the best martial art.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean,
It's the best base.
well, it's kind of to go into your. I feel like I feel like people are training MMA these days. They're not like siloing like, oh, I train wrestling and boxing and jujitsu. It's like, oh no, we MMA spar twice a week or something, you know?
Agreed, but that's also like the sport evolving.
Yeah,
right?
right.
I think MMA is a uniquely difficult sport to kind of measure because it's a sport of sports.
Yeah,
If that makes sense. It's like, well, you know, back in the day, when I was an amateur, they still had like boxer versus wrestler. Like, if that guy can take
That's
you down.
how they sold it. Yeah.
Well, they'd say, like, if that guy can take you down, it's going to be his fight. But if he can't, it's going to be your fight. Now it's like, you're absolutely correct that, like, the youth of today, because of the hyper-competitive nature of sports like we were talking about earlier, you're not wrong. I'll tell you what's happening more often, though, is like...
I was going to say, I want your thoughts.
They're double dipping.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is you're getting a lot of these guys that are, like, doing jiu-jitsu. Like, Lucas is a prime example of something like this. Like,
kid that was up there last night, too. I forget his name. He wrestles at St. Charles West, but he's a jiu-jitsu kid.
Yeah, so, like, there are guys that are... They're not wrestling year-round, but they're still grappling year-round, or maybe they're training year-round. And I think that the same advice that I would give a kid in high school is to be a multi-sport athlete. Don't only do wrestling, because it'll force you out of your comfort zone. It'll force you to see and learn something different that you might not necessarily be passionate about. It'll keep you active and all these other things. And what it'll do is it'll keep wrestling fresh. And think about it from the perspective of these kids that are like, oh, well, you know, we're going to train boxing for Golden Gloves and then go do Golden Gloves. And then maybe if FAR goes on, we're going to go do some wrestling. And then before the wrestling season, we are going to switch to jiu-jitsu and do some no-gi or gi matches. It's like, imagine your life is just combat, but it always feels fresh and new.
Yeah.
So that same like multi-sport athlete advice that I would give a high schooler, these kids are now doing, but only in combat sports. And that's why I think you're getting these young killers now.
Oh, yeah.
It's not because they only do wrestling. It's because they're doing jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, all of it. And they're still keeping it isolated. But then once they hit 18 and they can put it all together, you're seeing some fucking monsters
Which
now.
is wild.
Yeah.
And we're just in the beginning of it, really.
Yes. This is like the first generation. The generation that's coming up now is the first generation of kids that are training MMA and not just wrestling,
Which is
just
wild.
boxing. Yeah. So imagine generation 2. Just wait for
Well,
it.
I think a lot of people don't know this, but Bo Nickel, he like made the jump to the UFC so quickly because he was like, I guess, really competitive. I want to say this. I don't know. He boxed.
Yeah.
And both of his parents were very competitive boxers. So just kind of interesting to see somebody like, I don't even know how many fights he had outside of the UFC. I think it was like 2.
Yeah, but I think Bo is also,
He's
like,
an
you're talking about an NCAA
yeah,
champion.
yeah. For
And
sure.
for Penn State, right? So, like,
He's a dog.
he is the exception, not the rule. Does
But
that make
to
sense?
jump into MMA and be as successful as
I will
he
tell you
has-
that the caliber of athlete in the sport of MMA compared to the caliber of athlete that he just came out of, his first couple fights probably felt like
Nothing.
like he was wrestling freshman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to dog anybody in the UFC because
No,
they're
I get what you're
phenomenal
saying,
fighters.
though.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not a Bo Nickel, just like they're not Bo Nickels.
Yeah.
But I think the sport of MMA is uniquely qualified to humble you because there are so many ways to lose.
Oh, yes.
And it is not a question of if, it is a question of when. You could be the better man. You could have all the better skill sets. 99 times out of 100, you win, but he caught you with a flying knee.
Well, that's what terrifies, like, you actually, like, doing MMA and, like, having fights. Like, I would get nervous before wrestling. Just, now you're talking about, like, oh, hey, I fuck up, like, I might get head kicked into oblivion and not wake up. Like,
You wanna know
how
what
nerve-wracking is that?
I'll tell you what always got those jitters to come down. You want to know what I would always tell myself?
What?
Worst case scenario, you have to put me out with it. My mentality was if you ding me, if you rock me, you better knock me out with it because if I get hurt, I know I can take you down. And it goes back to like
That's
my
a good way to,
wrestling
yeah,
base.
okay.
So it's like for me, I don't have to knock you out with one.
Yep.
You do have to do that with me. And that always made me feel better. Like worst case scenario, like anybody can be finished with any one shot. So
Yeah,
it wasn't as if I thought like, oh, he can't knock me out. But I did know this, and I was like, okay, if I rock him, he can't take me down. So that fight's probably gonna be over. And if he rocks me, I can take him down. So at the very least, I can survive. And that gave me like a little bit of confidence.
Yeah, I could see that.
My avenues for victory are greater than yours because of my skill set. So you're not wrong though. But I'll tell you this: like the jitters I got before state were worse than any fight.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's the culmination of a season. A fight you
Yeah.
can do year round.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
and if you lose a fight, take whatever time the state tells you to take off, and you can get another fight, and you can get that one back. Think about it like you're at the state championship and you lose.
You
don't get that get back for another. So for 8 fucking months, you just have to sit there and dwell on that loss. It's brutal. It's brutal. So the physical consequences are less in wrestling, obviously, but the emotional were actually greater.
Yeah.
We're actually
I
greater.
could see that. I could see
Maybe
that.
just because I was young and I wasn't as mature, you know what I mean? And then by the time I got into fighting, I had 4 years of wrestling, so I was like, I kind of got used to competition. It sounds like I'm glazing wrestling, but because I am.
No,
It just prepared me for everything.
Yeah.
Business, life, being a man, being a husband, being a father, being a mentor, like just how I navigate the world is just so much easier outside of the competition aspect. I learned how to be disciplined, to do things. Wrestling was a sport that taught me how to work on my own time when no one was around me, doing the laps, hitting the gym, hitting the sauna on my own time. You know what I mean? It's like no one had to coach me 24/7 for the first time in my life. I was like, oh, I know what I need to do, and I'm going to go do it because I want this outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that I carried over in everything else I do. I always tell the kids, I'm like, I really don't care what you guys do in this sport. I really don't. The better we do, the happier I am. I don't want to lose. I'm a competitive guy. But
Yeah, for sure.
if you come here for 4 years and we don't do shit with it, then at least you did 4 years of hard work. And you're going to learn. Like, you're going to learn a lot from that body of work. But let's also win. Let's also win.
No, I agree. What is how was your guys' season this past year?
Before I ask that, I do want to ask you because you are also a coach, but at a higher level. You coached at college, and now you're starting to coach at wrestling, high school.
Yeah.
So let me ask.
Yeah.
And then we'll compare our years. But how did you get into coaching college, and then how did that result in you possibly coaching high school now?
Yeah. So graduated from Michigan. I wanted to do physician's assistant school. But I needed to take physics and like a calculus class anyway, so I was going to move back to Tampa, get a job in a phlebotomy lab, and then take these 2 classes and then apply to PA school at the University of South Florida. So that was the plan. I was all set, and then probably a month before I was set to move, I was in Michigan the whole summer because my lease wasn't up until August. So I was just chilling up there after the school year, not training, not doing anything, just kind of waiting to go back home. And then I get a call from a coach at SIUE, and they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to be a grad assistant?" Blah blah. Truthfully, I didn't even know SIUE was D1 because I just never wrestled any of their guys. So no, I wasn't going to be a GA for a small school. I just didn't want to do that. But when I found out they were D1, I looked where it was. I was like, oh, it's in a metro area. I won't be in the middle of nowhere. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll come check it out then. And so they brought me out. And then Edwardsville is a super nice area. The university is super nice. Great facilities. Jeremy Spates was the head coach. Super cool dude. Tommy Owen was the assistant coach at the time. He was a super cool dude. And, I was like, man, this is probably the only opportunity I'm going to get to be able to coach at the college level, especially D1. So I put all those plans on pause back to physician's assistant school and was like, I can always do that after I'm done. And so, I started coaching at SIUE, did that for 2 years, and then started chiropractic school, and that's 3.5 years. So I didn't do really any coaching that 3.5 years. I was just too busy with school. And then once I graduated from chiropractic school, I started coaching at a few different kids clubs out in Illinois. So the Bulls Wrestling Club, which is Bethalto Civic Memorial High School, and then Edwardsville Youth Wrestling Club. And I've always loved coaching. And then so I coached the youth kids there, and then I moved over this way, started that practice in St. Charles, and my girlfriend went to Francis Health Central, and when I was I was like, hey, part of the reason I want to open up this practice is so I can have time in the day set aside to just go help coach high school wrestling. I really want to get into high school wrestling.
For those that don't understand what he's saying, is because high school wrestling practice is right after high school gets out.
3
high
o'clock.
schools get out at 2:30.
2:30 actually.
So so practice has to start at like
2:45,
2:45, right?
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me like one person with like a 9 to 5 job can
Can't
like
do
tell
it.
they can, but it's like few and far between.
Yeah, I've never
'Cause
seen
I
it.
have
So, yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
that schedule, and it's just
Oh,
like,
do you really?
yeah, I mean,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah,
Okay,
dude,
very cool.
I'm on like all the time.
Oh, dude,
So
nice.
like, but one of the nice
So you
things
can
is
slip away.
one of the nice things is I work for myself, but I also work for an individual that I highly respect and admire.
Gotcha,
And he'll
gotcha,
be my
gotcha.
last boss.
Gotcha.
However, I had a conversation with him. I was just like, hey, fire me, but I got to be out by 2:00, Monday through Friday, 3-4 months out of the year. And he's like, what for? And luckily for me, he coached high school hockey at some point.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of had a framework. And the middle ground that we came to was because like my position is like not as like simple as like I gotta go. So the middle ground that we came to is like, listen, if I absolutely need you, I need you. Outside of that, you're free to do whatever you want. And that's the arrangement we've had for the last 3.5 years. That's why I was able to coach.
Dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's tough on anybody with like a corporate job.
Well, I know so many people that would be great at coaching. It's just you can't.
They can't.
You can't.
And
you lose that dream real quick when
it's-
you're making money and supporting a family. And,
Yes, and it's also a tall ask to ask your employer, hey,
Oh, for sure.
you know, I get in at 8, I have an hour-long lunch, I need to leave at 2.
Yeah.
You know, and then, by the way, still pay me 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a tough thing. So, like, I even floated, this is why I love the guy so much. Matt Croak is the best, man. I mean, I told him, I was like, whatever hours I take out, cut out of my salary, whatever, he's like, don't worry about it. So, he's like,
Dude,
as
that's
long as everything's done,
Yeah, that's awesome.
he's like, as long as, you know, any meetings, like, it's just how it should be, in my opinion. But I understand why it's not like that for everybody. I get that. But to that point of like, you know, you have your own chiropractic practice, and one of the main reasons you did that was so that you could alleviate.
Yeah, it
some of your
sounds so
schedule.
stupid, but like that's how much I loved coaching. I loved it.
It doesn't sound stupid at all. I
Yeah.
love it.
But so my girlfriend went to Francis Howell Central, so this will blow your mind too. Maybe not. I think it's cool. But so Francis Howell Central, I was like, oh really? Like I wonder how good they were. I never really heard of them. So looked them up online, and I was like, oh shit! Like
They're
they've
legit.
actually like one of the better teams in this area for a long time. And then Coach Cross is a legendary coach. And then I was like, oh man, that'd be actually pretty cool to coach there. It's like, right by my office, it'd be local, it'd implant me in the community, and it would be like good to be a part of a good team. And then I was like, no way they have a job posted. Go on their fucking assistant coaching position posted. I was like, bro, are you serious? Like immediately applied. Jake Mattson, the head coach, shout out Jake. Jake Mattson, the head coach, I think I submitted it, and maybe like 2 or 3 hours later, he like called me and was like, "Hey, yeah, I saw that you put in your application. Like, we'd love to get on a call with you and with me, you and the AD, and see if we can work this out." And then it was literally like 2 days and got the job, and we were off to the races. Started going to their preseason stuff shortly after that, and it was really good. It was a really good situation.
Did you start coaching with them last year was your first year?
So this was like last summer. So I opened up my clinic in August. So that was maybe June I had reached out to them. And then, they were doing like preseason stuff starting.
So this last season was your first season with them.
Yes.
How did it go?
It was good. No, I love our coaching staff. Like our coaching staff is dope. I don't know how many you guys have, but we have Cross, Mattson, Bitney, Jahan, Brazel, me, Mike Taylor, and I'm probably forgetting something, but let's say 7 or 8 coaches.
But not all are on staff.
A lot of volunteers. Yeah.
Which
but
I say that because God bless.
Yeah. And they would be there consistently.
Yes.
Every single competition for sure, and then a few days during the week. But we have a great coaching staff. They're all super cool. They all know wrestling. Most of us wrestled in college at some point.
Good culture. No, not a lot of egos.
No, not at all.
God bless.
Not at all. It's super cool. Just good, humble, like wrestling people, which is like my type of people. So our season was good. Our boys, we had 4 qualifiers. Our girls, we had 8 qualifiers.
Yeah, dude, your girls' team is
Our
solid.
we're gonna be even better next year too.
Fuck me, dude.
Yeah.
Don't tell Delaney that.
We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. So yeah, it was just awesome, and I really miss one of our kids. This will stick out to me forever. He, lost, and I may have got on him a little bit, and we were talking about it after the match, and he was like, I just didn't know you cared that much about like me winning or losing, and I was like, I'm gonna say this completely selfishly, like, yes, I want you to win, but I fucking want to win too. Like, it's not like I coach because it's like a competitive outlet for me, and I also love helping out these kids accomplish their goals and, like you said, learn something that is transferable all throughout their life. But it's like, what do you mean? Like, yes, of course I want to win. Like, what?
Well, even
that's
that
been
is
so
something
awesome.
you learn from wrestling, though.
Yeah.
It's like
everything.
If
I
you're a
wanna
good
win
loser, then you're just a
everything.
loser.
Yeah,
You
I
should
wanna
be competitive. You should be okay with the outcome of losing in the sense
Oh,
of like,
for sure,
it
for
will
sure.
happen, but I'm not doing this with that outcome in mind.
And yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this. This is like, but like surrender the outcome. Like wrestlers talk about it all the time. Maybe it's just what I consume on social media, but wrestlers always say that. I'm sure other athletes do, but the good wrestlers always say surrender the outcome. And that is just such a valuable thing because it's way more process focused. And like, that's like, there is no harder process to endure than how many months is the wrestling season? 4 or 5 months of weekly competitions, sometimes 2 competitions in a week, cutting weight for that whole season, beating the shit out of kids that are your friends every day, getting pissed off at them a time or two, having to navigate that, there's nothing better to prepare you for real life. You have to be able to manage conflict. You have to be able to find success or joy in other people's success. You also have to get a little jealous when you see other people doing well. Like that's, you know what I mean? That's how you keep that.
When you say other people doing well, do you mean like
yeah,
other
like
coaches?
teammates? No, like as an athlete, like you see, I coach at Francis Howell Central. You see a Howell kid in your weight doing better than you, like. He's got the same resources as you. Like, what are you doing?
You know what I mean?
I
know what you mean.
So I always think there is, and maybe jealousy is the wrong word, but like questioning in your own mind, like, why don't I have what he has? You know what I mean? And then trying to fill that gap or span the gap with whatever you can do.
You know what I tell myself?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have me as a coach.
Yeah,
that's what I tell myself.
Oh,
I have kids that are better than I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Toby. And I think to myself, like, I wish I would have had me as a coach when I was in high school. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
I had phenomenal coaches. Thank God for Dan Shue and Devon Ford.
Mm.
They changed my life. So, like, don't get it twisted. It's just something I tell myself because it's like my goal now, that competitive fire that I had as a fighter, as a competitor, now transcends to coaching.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, like, this was the first year that I had some of the kids start to achieve heights that I didn't achieve when I was in high school. And it was kind of like a tough pill to swallow at first because I was like, but then I took I wanted to, like, I do meditation.
Yeah.
Just because I like to sit within my own
teach my
thoughts.
patients meditation all the time.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's breath work, but I say, hey, like, you're not going to feel much with this, so use it as meditative practice. Do you have one? No. 99% of people say no. Well, let this be your entry point.
There's no one harder on me than myself. So, like, sometimes whenever I start going and doing things I don't feel like is in my nature or is lessens me, like it lessens me, I sit and I'll kind of like force myself into a conversation. It sounds kind of weird, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to like, where is this feeling or action coming from? It's stemming from something. And I have to be cognitively aware of that because either it is something that I need to change or it is something that I cannot change and I need to be aware of to eliminate the variables that will cause that. Yep. So like I didn't like that I was getting kind of like, not jealous like you were saying, but envious. Envious is the thing.
Yeah.
I wanted that same success even for myself. And then I had to tell myself like, your time has passed. These kids are not competing with you. Don't compete with these kids.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, my kids ask me like, what's coaching like? And I'm like, well, every day I come into a room full of like 40 kids and their goal is to beat my ass. So that's all of them. Everyone wants to take coach down. Everyone wants to pin me. And my job is to teach you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the tough pill to swallow is if I do my job right, you should.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And then that's going to be like, well, then how do I kind of wrestle with that? Like, you know, am I the coach just because I'm the best in the room, or am I a coach because I'm trying to, you know, take the information from my head, give it to you so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. I'm probably telling you a bunch of shit you already know.
No, dude, I've struggled with that same thing. Like, I'm freaking, you're, especially in the, you know, the college room. Like, when I was at SIUE, I'm like, you know, 2 years older than them, freshly out of college. And literally my job is be a practice partner. Like, you're a coach, but like, your real job is to just get in there and wrestle with them every day. And that's freaking tough, man. Like, these kids are, you know,
D1 college wrestlers,
they're putting
fucking
it on
nails.
me. Like, I'm not like getting my ass beat, but like, yeah, it's freaking tough. And then you have a kid that you wrestle with and you see him do well at a tournament that you didn't, and you're like, oh, man, like, you don't deserve that. I worked harder than you. But like, it's like, again, the important part is that you're aware of those thoughts. And I probably wasn't very aware of it at 23, 24 years old. But like you're saying now, like, you can look at that and use it to be the coach that you wish you would have had.
Yeah.
And no knock against the people. But I get what you're saying.
I had great coaches.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Well,
and I think that's the job of any young coach, is to be an amalgamation of everything that you enjoyed from your coaches, and then add the little things in that maybe you missed or you wish you would have had.
What do you think you add to your coaching style?
Ooh.
What are the things that you pull from the coaches you had, and what do you think is like your value add?
Oh, I don't know what my value add is, but I will say that probably to a fault, like, I know the best coaches that I had in college, especially. I've had many good coaches, but the two that I try to model myself after, Kellen Russell and Josh Chirola. They were two of my coaches at Michigan. They were the younger coaches on staff. Hard asses, like, didn't let you get away with anything, but like, you'd wrestle them, they'd beat the shit out of you, and then like, hey, sit down with you and like talk about shit not involved in wrestling at all, like actually get to know you, and like, oh, hey, like, I heard you had this music playing, like, oh yeah, I went to this concert, and like, just kind of having that like real human connection. Because I mean, yeah, it's very hard for me, because I not that I accomplished everything, but I saw a lot of people accomplish like the greatest heights that you can reach in the sport, and I know what they're doing. And so when I'm seeing things that don't align with that, it's really hard for me to like not, you know, like, you got to be doing this. It's like, well, most of these kids aren't going to make it to that level anyways. Nothing against them. They don't have the goals to do that. But so like, whenever I feel like that, I try to say in my head, like, actually just like be a human and like just connect with them and try to get them to be the best that they can be given their goals, right? So yeah, long story, or to sum that up, definitely, I think I do a good job of connecting with them on a personal level, like outside of like wrestling. It's in the context of wrestling, but it's, hey, let's, you know, what'd you do after on Sunday? Did you go out to, you know, brunch with your family, whatever it is? Oh, I heard you went hunting this weekend. Like, did you get a deer? Like, how cold was it? Like, just stuff unrelated to wrestling.
Reminding them that you're also a human yourself.
Yeah, for sure. And then one thing that I think I do good, dude, that's a hard one. I don't know, man.
Well, what kind of coach do you want to be?
Approachable, for sure. Yeah, with anything.
That's the vibe I got from
wrestling.
When I met you.
Wrestling, life. I feel like, approachable.
Yeah, when I met you, I
appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I texted Mike and I was like, because I saw your first picture that you guys posted when you guys were doing off season, and I was like, hey Mike, I'm not gonna bring the whole team, even though I want you to know.
Dude, you should.
I can't.
Get him in a friggin' 23 passenger van.
No, I know, right? No, here's the thing: is like.
No, it's hard. It's hard to get. Yeah.
But there's a psychology to that as well. I want the kids to know that Toby and Delaney went and that they didn't get, because I want them to be like, why didn't I get picked?
Yep.
And then I want to sit there and tell them, because you don't work as hard as them.
Yeah.
If I just give them all these things and they think they could do whatever they want and that they can get the same outcome, it just doesn't work that way. Delaney and Toby got there because they went to state, and not just they went to state, because we had other state qualifiers I didn't invite, but it was the mentality, the work ethic, the discipline, everything I see throughout the year. I was like, these kids are going to fucking crush it next year. And I want all of you to see what it takes to get into there. To answer the question that I asked you of like, what is like my value add? More than anything, I know it's intensity. I work hard and I play hard. To your point about approachability, I will, if you asked my wrestlers, they'll tell you that I am the coolest coach and the biggest asshole on the team.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You got to have the duality, man.
I don't care what you get out of the sport, but you're going to give me your all. My mentality is like this, like you could be doing anything else with your time. I know what my hourly rate is. For me to go to the kids and coach them, by the way, I am a volunteer coach. Like I run the practices, I do all this. I don't need the money. I don't need the money. And I also use that as like a bargaining chip. So like whenever the AD tells me like, hey, because I wanted a bigger wrestling room. Well, hey, you don't pay me. I want a bigger wrestling room. Well, hey, I pay for the banquets. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it like that, but like you are technically the boss, AD. But I buy equipment. I sponsor this. I sponsor that. Like, so when I want some stuff, we get the nod.
It's also fucking super dope that you do that for your alma mater. No, that's friggin' awesome.
Without wrestling, I would have never been in a position to make the money that I make now. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just giving back to the program that gave to me.
That's awesome.
I don't look at it as
really
like
freaking cool.
I don't look at it like that. Like I look at it as like it's a duty. Does that make sense?
No, I can tell.
Yeah,
I can tell.
But to that point, like that is my value add, is like I'm not here to waste my fucking time. My time is not derivative of the outcome. If we win state as a team, phenomenal. I'll be very happy. Don't get me wrong.
Effort driven though.
Yeah,
Right?
But if we don't, it won't be from a lack of trying. We could do everything right and be the lesser man that night. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with being the lesser man because we didn't try. We didn't do everything we could do.
No.
And I think that I've coached now for 3 years. The first year was literally just changing the culture, because there was a certain standard that was set, and when I came in, it was like a shock to the system. I almost got fired the first week from a volunteer position.
Like, peace, dude.
Yeah, parents were calling in like, my kid said that he got yelled at. I go, yeah, well, was your kid doing stupid shit?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, your kid's gonna get yelled at. I had a parent tell me, like, she got on the mats, she's like, I think you're going too hard on the kids, and I was like, I'm a very abrasive person. Like it's not from like a. I'm gonna take that back. I'm not an abrasive person.
I was gonna say I didn't get that from you.
My thing is, I would never do things like if I think you're a specialist, I would never go into your, and we're about to talk about your practice and chiropractic work. I would never go into your line of work and be like, I don't think you're doing that right, because I don't have a metric for measurement. I don't know. So like whenever people think that they have this ability to just come in and criticize, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And I had to tell a parent, I was like, hey, I've been doing this for 15 years. I don't think it's fair for me to ask that you do it for 15 years. So I'll tell you what, do it for like a year or two, and then come back on the mats and tell me if I'm being too rough. And you know what's funny? Our first year, we didn't have anything. Actually, we had one state qualifier. Josiah. Sorry, Josiah. Shout out Josiah. Our next year, we had 4.
Damn.
Our year after that, we had 6, and then this year we had 8. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Only one girl, though. I wanted to have more.
You had 7 boys?
Yeah. Sorry. We had 7 in total, including Delaney. So 6 boys and Delaney.
Still?
Sorry. So yeah, 7 state qualifiers. 3 years ago, and multiple district champions. And all this.
Yeah.
My first state medalist in Toby. So like Toby started with me as a freshman. He is a junior. He's a junior now. He's about to be a senior next year. He took 6th. Sorry, 6th. Now my competitive nature of like how I was as a fighter, to the point about like them succeeding, is like the way I'm able to easily swallow my pride at their success is because now I'm competing on a different thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm competing as a coach. I want the most state medalists.
Yeah.
I want the most championships. I want to be like, I'm competing against the volleyball coach, and like, how are they? It's well known now that at Afton, the wrestling team is like the fucking team where we always do all the winning and we're bringing home all the hardware. And I love that. I'm like, no, we're the shit. And that, but by the way, the change in the culture, the change in the kids is like the most euphoric drug I think I've ever had outside of winning fights. To see these kids walk with a strut and confidence. I love that shit. Coaching was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Oh, and to go off that, like, there are so many distractions for these kids these days. Like, it's insane. So when you see them strutting around and having a little confidence, it's like, all right, nice.
You also, I'll tell you what it does for me as an adult, and I advise this to other adults that get very doom and gloom. I know that like the political landscape and the economical landscape can kind of start to black pill you in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Spend some time with kids that are growing, and it'll reinvigorate you.
And you will laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
They're so smart. They're so capable.
So many times I'm like, that's so funny, but I can't laugh.
Yeah, I do. Dude, it's bad.
It's really one of the things.
Do they talk shit to you yet?
Oh,
okay. Yeah,
I'll bring up text messages from this one kid in particular. I won't shout him out. He's hilarious, and we'll go back and forth all the time. And he's around my size, so we wrestle a lot, and it's hilarious.
I got kids telling me like, I'm training on the off season. I'm gonna beat your ass.
Oh
coach.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I'm responding back like, yeah, we'll see.
So this kid, he's a smart kid, so his shit talk's actually pretty good. And he's telling me how he was wrestling, or he was watching some of my matches on YouTube, which back then, like, there are definitely some matches, but they're only the like usually the bigger matches. And shit, like, I was decent, but like I'm getting beat in a lot of these matches. And then the matches I do win, they're super close because it's like really, really good kids. And he's chirping me. He's like, yeah, like I watched you wrestle. Like, you never did any of the stuff that you show us. Like, you were actually kind of defensive. Like, you didn't take a lot of shots. And they rage bait so well. And I was like,
they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Like, didn't even dignify
the
it.
passive aggressive shit talk.
I'll just pivot real quick and get on them. But that's like one of the most fun things about it.
Their generation is so good at shit talking through questions.
Oh yeah.
Like, why are you so bad?
Yeah.
I'm just like, really?
The rage baiting, that's another term I become familiar with. But no, I love that. How do we get there? But yeah, just seeing those kids, they have a little confidence and like feel like winning, losing aside, like just feeling competent and confident learning a new skill. Like that concept is transferable in the finance world, the chiropractic world, the nursing world, the whatever career you decide, hairdresser, doesn't matter. Like you have to acquire a skill that is valued in order to get paid. That's how the world works, right? So I think starting with something like wrestling where it's really hard, there's a lot of growing pains, and when you have that kid break through and, you know, start feeling himself a little bit, it's cool. It's cool, man.
It's one of the things I do that doesn't bring in any dollars, but I don't know, like, I want to be careful how I say this because I want to say it in an intelligent way. I don't think I would be as happy as I am today if I didn't coach. Does that make sense?
Right there with you, brother. Right there.
It just brings a joy to my life. I look forward to the season as much as the kids do. Don't get me wrong, it's tiring as well, right? So, like, that's why I say, like, seasons matter. Like, it was nice these past couple weeks and months in state not having practice, but start getting the itch a little bit. The kids start talking a little shit, and you're like, all right, I'll see you with weightlifting this summer. You know what I mean? It's good. I'm very glad I do it. But if you don't mind me asking, one of the jokes that I made when I first met you was you were like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a chiropractor by trade. That's what I do for work. And I was like, that's hilarious because you're on the wrestling mats breaking these bodies, and then like you're in your chiropractic center bringing them back to life.
Yeah,
I was like, it sounds like you're kind of creating your own funnel for business.
You ever seen the movie Joe Dirt?
Yeah.
Where he's talking to Kick and Wing, and he's like talking about the fireworks. What's the line? He's like, some kid shoves a firecracker up a bullfrog's ass, blows it to pieces, brings him back to you. You're the vet. That's good biz, brother. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. I go to these wrestling practices, beat up on these kids and hurt them, and then they come to the office. Not really. That's not how it works. But yeah. So yeah, I interrupted you.
No. My question was going to be, we've done a lot about the athletic part of your past, but intertwined with all of this, obviously your wrestling at the college level, yes, but that also means that you're taking college courses, you're going for a college degree, and you inevitably led to the life of a chiropractor, which I'm a little bit knowledgeable, but I might ask some ignorant questions
No,
here,
dude,
so
you're good.
forgive me. I know that here locally we have Logan's Chiropractic Center, which is like a school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the chiropractors I talk to have graduated from that school. Did you also have to do something
Yes.
similar? So you went to
I went to
university,
Logan.
and then you went to Logan afterwards. Like, how does
Yes.
that? Forgive me. How did that work in terms of education?
Yeah, so you need a bachelor's degree to go into chiropractic school.
In anything?
Yeah.
No
Usually health
I
sciences.
got a bunch of people with like African American studies that are like, I can get a job.
So it's honestly they'll bend some rules for you for sure. Generally speaking,
Bunch of
I would
psych majors coming in.
I would say health sciences, so a lot exercise science, biology, chemistry. Those majors typically for sure. Mine was like a applied neuroscience. It has a really long name, but that's essentially what my undergrad was in. And then I did a master's degree at SIUE while I was coaching in exercise physiology. And it was because I remember I wanted to go to physician's assistant school. So I knew I wanted to do something in medicine, but was still obviously took a little detour to coach at SIUE. And then through that master's program, I had a classmate, Sam Wetherell, shout out, cool dude. I had a classmate, we became friends, and he knew the whole time that he was going into chiropractic school after our grad program. And I was like, oh, that actually seems like it might be like kind of cool. Like, can work with athletes, like you get to work with your hands. It's like developing another skill. You can be your own business owner pretty easily. And my best friend in college, Taylor Massa, who is a great wrestler, but his father was a chiropractor that actually went to Logan. He grew up in St. Louis. But when I was in college, he knew I always wanted to go into the health professions, and he was always on my ass, like, you need to go to chiropractic school. You would be great at it. You need to go, like, screw this physician's assistant stuff, like, chiropractor. And I was always kind of like, I don't know. I've never really, he adjusted me a few times, but it was, like, never anything crazy. I, like, never really understood what it was about. So
Feels good though.
Yeah, it does. I love getting my neck racked. But so anyways, yeah, throughout that master's program, I had that friend, and then I started thinking about it. I reached out to Taylor Massa's father, Roger, and he kind of convinced me. He was like, dude, no, I think that's a great idea. Like, Chesterfield's a great area. Logan's a great school. Like, you work for somebody for a few years, and then you open up your own spot. Like, you have the personality to be able to, market yourself and grow your business. And it'll be hard for sure, but, like, you can do it. It's, like, just like wrestling. Like, you take it one day at a time. You keep progressing. You never quit. And, that was all the convincing I needed. And then, I went to chiropractic school and then graduated in August of 2021. Been practicing ever since.
So that's interesting. So 2021, obviously there's a bit of a delta there. And then, we can also talk about what I'm sure starting in the medical field during COVID was like. But you just opened up your practice, though, just last year. So roughly,
in August.
4 years, right? 5 years? Yeah, 2026. So 5 years. Talk to me about those 5 years. Before we start talking about your practice and entrepreneurship, what was it like when you graduated, trying to find a job? Because like I said, it's 2021. So at the height of COVID, lockdowns, I'm sure not the best time to be in a business where you have to physically touch somebody.
Yeah. So, my first job out of school was with a chiropractor, and one of my buddies, Corey Stassi, he was a really good wrestler at Civic Memorial High School in Bethalto, Illinois. So I'd known him just kind of hustling, getting to know people. Like, I was shadowing people throughout school, and he was one of the people I shadowed. And so I spent my last 2 trimesters of school at his office. So I guess that would have been like late 2020 and early 2021. And then he gave me a job immediately after I graduated. So, that was my first job. And then I left his practice to go over to a practice in Kirkwood. just had a really unique opportunity to learn from some chiropractors that mentored mentors I had in chiropractic school. So Dr. Clayton Skaggs, he was like, he was the Cardinals chiropractor for years. He worked with the Blues. Friend, I don't know how true this is, but I think it's pretty true. Rory McIlroy literally just paid for him to like travel with him as his personal chiropractor for a time. Yeah, he was very plugged in with the professional baseball specifically, and then golf. So I worked there for a little bit. And then so throughout all that, I was married for 4 years, and then we got a divorce. I guess, when is that? 2023, late 23. Gosh, I can't even remember. But anyways, so I was working at that clinic in Kirkwood with those super cool mentors. And then we got a divorce, and I was just like, you know what? Feel like I need to like kind of have a hard reset on what's going on. I moved back to Tampa for a little bit.
Because your family's still there.
Yeah, because my family's there. Okay. So just to kind of like, hey, like,
reset, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of just figuring things out. And then I moved back up here. And then I worked at another clinic for about a year. And then at that clinic, it was good. But, I'm starting to hit my stride a little bit. I'm, 4 years into practicing. Like, I'm very confident with my manual skills, my adjusting skills. Like, very confident in the value I bring to a patient struggling with musculoskeletal pain. And, I was just making a ton of money for the business, and I was doing all the work, and I was like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I feel like I could do this on my own. And, I was dating my current girlfriend. Kara's her name. She's great. But
Shout out, Kara.
I was dating Kara, and she's, like, literally just, like, the biggest, like, cheerleader, like, support system.
Did you meet her from
Oh, geez.
Completely unrelated. Okay.
No, we met playing sand volleyball.
Gotcha. All right, sand volleyball.
Yeah,
new Tinder.
Yeah. Oh,
I just didn't know if this was like
Tinder, Bumble. You put 5'5" as your height, you're not getting no bites on that.
I actually, we had a whole podcast with someone where
nor is that my style, anyways.
We had a whole podcast with someone. Her name is Erin. She's a good friend of mine. She was actually our previous guest, and she got on Bumble and found Eric, and now they're engaged and everything. So like Erin was like,
wait, Eric? Oh, okay. Just some random.
Eric is the name of her
fiancé.
Okay.
Sorry. I get it.
So like her mentality on like dating websites were like, they're amazing. Like,
yeah.
I got on there and
I
found my future husband. Eric was like, you have no idea what those trenches are like. Because Eric is also like 5'6", handsome guy, in shape guy.
Don't matter.
Yeah, that's
a big
brother,
barrier,
man. When you get the bars, I'm telling you, man, there's a growing population of women that are realizing the power of a short king.
Yeah.
Thanks, wife.
Yeah.
No, but like it was really hard for us to like explain to her. I was like, you are like the exception, not the rule, girl.
Yeah.
Eric was like, dude, I had PTSD from dating websites. I was like, Jesus Christ. So sorry.
Well, my dad, he would actually be a great guest. He'd say some off the wall shit, but he's a very smart person. But
let me know next time he's in town.
He'll be here in a few months, actually, a month or two. But anyways, he gave me some advice and was like, hey, like, you gotta meet people like doing shit that like you're gonna do regardless.
Organic.
And that's how it ended up. So it was awesome. And she subbed for our team. I was playing on a team, and she subbed for one of the girls that was out. And
she saw you go for the ball. She's like, that's the kind of commitment I need in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we've been together for just about 2 years now. But she was like the biggest like cheerleader support. Like when I was talking about this, like, this is what I want to do, and she's like, fucking do it, dude.
Well, that's a big step, going from an employee to employer, even if you're only employing yourself. Because yes, you're right, like you're working and doing all the work, and it feels like they're making all the money, but they're also taking all the
go into it.
Yeah, they're also taking all the risks. They have to find the clients. Like it's tough. When you were thinking about this, what were some of the I don't want to say insecurities, but what
Yeah.
were some of the reservations that you were having that was prolonging you from executing?
Yeah, just I was comfortable where I was at for sure, but I didn't like that comfortability. Like it was cool, like it was stable, but
So
like
was it just the money then? Like,
oh no, it was everything. Like I was
okay.
working with the patient populations. I was like, oh, you mean why I left? It
What would,
was
I guess, let me ask the question in a
yeah.
better way. So, like, you're comfortable and you're making money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
change that?
So the goal from the start of chiropractic school, Roger Massa, the my best friend's dad in college, he was always like, "You be your own business owner. You be your own business owner." Like that was part of the selling point. So I knew going into chiropractic school, that's what I wanted to do
Eventually you would do
eventually.
it.
So yeah, sites were already set there. It was just like, hey, when do I make the jump? And like I said, I was comfortable. I was making good money, treating the patients that I liked working with. But yeah, it was just like, I don't like this like comfortability. I feel like, there's not a ton of room for growth here. Like I'm pretty stagnant where I'm at. And then on top of that, the end goal being owning my own thing. So, yeah, I kind of jumped at it. I have a really good situation where my office is at. It's right in between St. Charles MMA and the jiu-jitsu school I go to. And yeah, there's a ton of other jiu-jitsu schools in the area. Wrestling is a lot, I would say. St. Charles there's a lot of wrestling and people that care about wrestling there too. So I knew I had a good in there. And
Yeah,
then
if I was building a chiropractic center, I'd find like
yeah.
where are the most grappling gyms. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it right in the middle.
Yep, and that's
And
kind of
then
what
the
I
business
did.
will just come.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. But I knew I had been learning about the business side of chiropractic for a long time. Just consuming podcasts, reading books, all that sort of stuff, talking with people that were doing what I wanted to do.
Was it as complicated as you thought it would be?
No.
Okay.
Or I mean, I'm still learning.
Of course.
But the good thing about chiropractic is it's a very simple business. Like I don't sell anything except my services.
Yeah, you're not prescribing.
Yeah,
anything.
I'm not. Yeah, so it's very simple in that respect. So yeah, it was just I guess the other reservation I had that was like, how am I gonna keep the lights on? Like, how am I gonna pay myself? How am I gonna, afford my student loans and all this and all that? So that was probably the biggest
Fear.
reservation. But then at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Like, now is the time to do this. Like, I don't have kids. I'm not married. It's pretty much just me out here. Like, all my family's back home, so I can like really dive into this and make it work. And yeah, that's been the case. I mean, I've done, there's being an entrepreneur, there's, run ads and do this and do that. And I've done that stuff and it's been decently successful, but like nothing has beaten just like getting involved in the getting involved in the activities where my patients are at, my like avatar patient, and that's jiu-jitsu gyms, wrestling tournaments, and like boutique fitness gyms. So yeah, it's been good. I mean, constantly growing, getting new patients every week, and yeah.
What was the goal of starting your own practice, and has that goal shifted after starting it?
Yeah, I think I'm still in the beginning of that, right? So I think my first goal was to sustain what this one business coach that I follow, he calls like a lifestyle practice. Like, hey, it's just you, maybe an employee or two. You're treating patients for, 25, 30 hours a week, and you're making good money, but you are never going to scale past that. So I haven't reached the point where I'm feeling topped out. I still have, open slots on my schedule, but we're nearing there. We're nearing that point. So been learning more about how do you scale this business, right? How do you have systems in place to where people aren't coming to see me, they're coming to see D1 Chiro Plus. So, yeah, that'll be a big project this summer. I actually have 2 unpaid, sorry guys, I'm not able to pay you this summer, but 2 interns that will be helping me out with things all this summer. They're both female college wrestlers. One's from Lindenwood, the other's from Simpson College.
Are they also
Russ,
Are they also going to go to Logan? Like, are they going to follow a
yes,
similar?
they are either
Got you.
PT or chiropractic.
Got you.
So
Following that same path that you
yeah,
did. Got you.
exactly. So and met both of those people. I met the one. She wrestled at the high school I teach at, and her little brot's on the team. So that honestly,
That's fucking
if I
awesome.
don't coach, I don't have that connection.
That is awesome.
And the other one is a I had known this girl. She wrestled in the Edwardsville club. She now wrestles at Lindenwood. She came to see me. One of her teammates was having issues. She told her to come see me, and then met her through that. So really, if I'm not out in these communities and treating these athletes, I would have never known her. But so they're both going to be interns. Be pretty low key, but I'm developing like, hey, intern handbook. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to teach you. And then, that'll be the beginnings of, hey, how do we scale this out if, I do hire full-time employees? And
that's kind of like what my question was in a nutshell is like, obviously people have a plan. Yeah. It's kind of like a wrestling match. It's kind of like a fight. Like, you think you're going to do all these things, and you get into it, and you're like, all right, I have to adjust on the fly.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't know if the plan was always, I want a practice, but I want, like, 10 chiropractors underneath me, receptionists, and all these other things. I don't know whatever the number is, you know what I mean? Or if the plan was always, like, I'm just going to be a solopreneur. I want to generate enough revenue to sustain my life and then be my own boss so I can take time whenever I want. No one could tell me when I could take PTO and things like that. So I just didn't understand, because I know a lot of guys that start their own businesses, but like their mentalities, like they could go into HVAC or some sort of electrical work, and like they never want to have employees. They're like, listen, I'm a solopreneur, and like, that's what I'm going to be till the day I die. And he's like, I just don't want anybody calling me, telling me I got to be anywhere, which is hilarious, because then these are some of the most like disciplined people that like they'll do it themselves. They just don't want someone telling them to do it. So I just didn't know.
Yes. So
what was driving you?
The big, so again, I definitely more in the lifestyle practice right now. And that's what I'm focused on right now, but definitely have ideas to make it more of a scalable business with multiple chiropractors. And I think the big goal I've had from the start is, hey, you can practice. So I'm also not like, I don't want to say atypical chiropractor. I practice very differently than most other chiropractors. So I do one-on-one sessions. The minimum I do is 30 minutes, but I'll do up to an hour session depending on what that patient needs. And we're doing adjustments, muscle work, dry needling, red light therapy, all this different stuff. And then we do that for a time, maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. And then the rest of the time I have a little gym in my office. We're doing rehab, strength training, and that's what fills up the rest of the visit. But so the idea would be to offer a newly graduated chiropractor an opportunity to practice like that and make a really solid living, because those opportunities are few and far between for chiropractors.
We're kind of talking about that a little bit off the record. Are you comfortable talking about that on
the
record?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
100%.
So why is that like few and far between for chiropractors
it's
in terms
just,
of opportunities?
Yeah, it's just so the way most insurance carriers reimburse chiropractors is in order to make a good living and sustain a family and to not be seeing patients for 40 hours a week, which, you can't work patient care for 40 hours. That would be insane. Like, you would be dead every single week. It wouldn't be sustainable.
Why do you say that? Forgive me.
It's hard on your body. I mean, like, adjusting people, like, your wrists will get sore.
It's just manually taxing.
Yeah. Me. And mentally, you're having a new conversation with, if you're in the insurance model, seeing 100 patients a day, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Maybe not 100, but it wouldn't be crazy to see 50, 60, maybe 70 patients in a day if you subscribe to that model of, 5-minute adjustments, and then they do other stuff, not with the chiropractor. But, and even those opportunities, if you want to go that route, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, they're not paying you fairly. I don't want to say fairly. You're not getting paid what you deserve, in my opinion. So the end goal would be to have a place, a clinic that's thriving and that is looking to hire on associate chiropractors right out of school, and pay them a very good living to practice the exact way they want. Longer visits, they're not rushed. They might see, if you see 5 patients a day in their hour-long sessions, that would be a crazy busy day.
Is it one of the main criticisms of your craft is that, the quick in, quick out.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about how like the incentives are kind of in place because of insurance carriers. And it sounds like the insurance companies and how they cover chiropractic care is kind of counter to the industry of chiropractic care. Because I'll tell you from like anecdotal experience, the majority of the people that I'm around, the main criticism of chiropractic work is that, man, I come in, they adjust me, I feel great for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then like I feel like shit again afterwards, right? Yep. And they're like, and then I still had to pay like $20-$30, and I still feel like crap. Like chiropractic's not even, it's not really doing it for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, I understand like it's like a chicken or the egg thing, and it sounds like because the insurance companies will only subsidize a certain amount of money.
You have to see a large
regarding
volume.
That care. You are now, as a chiropractor, in the business of volume, not necessarily quality. So then if quality eclipses...
And to be clear, I don't want to say, because an adjustment is a super powerful tool. It can get people better, but usually for a short time, like you said. It's not making lasting change. So nothing against chiropractors that practice that way.
And I'm not trying to say
No. I just wanted to be clear, because I think an adjustment is really powerful. Like there's something that happens. We don't even really understand physiologically, neurologically, all that's happening, but it is powerful. It's a powerful input. So if you're just doing that, you're going to get people better for sure. Patient psyche comes into play too. If they think that's all they need and they get it, they're probably going to get better. But again, that's going down the rabbit hole. But yeah, it does incentivize volume instead of quality. The way I look at it. Like if I wanted my mom to go to a chiropractor, I would tell her to go to somebody that practices like me. If she really wants to get to the root cause, get this issue solved.
So that's kind of where I'm going at though, is like, because the volume base is like, it can be perceived by the person who's going in there as like lesser quality. It'll kind of, I want to be, forgive me, I'm trying to use my words very carefully because I don't want to, it would kind of, it behooves the industry because it makes them feel like this is not working. Oh, I'm going in there, I'm seeing them for 5 minutes and I'm hurting again. So then it starts to get people like averse to chiropractic care because they are seeing it as like something that's not solving the issues, which is then hurting the industry. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. And that's why I think there's plenty of chiropractors. There are plenty of chiropractors that practice like I do as well. And that's why we are successful, I think, as entrepreneurs, is because if you're active on social media and your messaging is right and you're speaking to your avatar and they hear that and they've had the experience that you've had, they're like, oh, that doesn't sound anything like what I had before. Like maybe I should give him a shot. So yeah, I think hasn't affected.
Has not being under the insurance umbrella though affected your ability to acquire clients?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's a barrier for a ton of people.
Yeah, it's a financial barrier.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I think just like speaking, like communicating your value to that patient. Like one thing I'll ask patients all the time, like, okay, so, what have you tried before? But if they have like a financial objection, it's like, well, okay, like, you said you saw these other people in the past and they did X, Y, and Z. Like, you're here now. That didn't seem like it worked, did it? And yeah, no, it didn't. It's like, that the financial not being able to use your insurance, like, that's a barrier, but I'm also offering you something different than you've had.
Have they ever expressed like frustration? Because I think about it, like you're paying for
your
insurance.
No, not many people do, honestly. I mean, deductibles are so high these days anyways. A lot of people that go to...
Didn't think about that, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people that go to chiropractors...
they're still paying whatever,
paying
$60 to $100 anyway.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble, but it's...
Sorry.
Yeah, no. That is a problem. Like you have a high deductible and you go to a chiropractor and you have to pay the cash rate, which is $80 or whatever, and then you get a 5-minute adjustment. Like, yeah, that would leave a bad taste in my mouth too.
Literally,
Yeah.
my experience was
Mhm.
so from my perspective, I was like, it felt great leaving there. After 30 minutes, I was like, whatever, back to normal. And then I was like, wait, I'm paying for my insurance, and then I had to still pay like $80 to $100. I was like, I remember just leaving like, well, that happened kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a lot of people have had this I've had this experience. You go to a hospital, you go to the ER, God forbid, you'll get bills for
Everything.
literally in months after you thought you had paid it off, and it's like these
Because the billing
these hidden
systems are
costs,
separated.
yeah.
But they're also separated because like the anesthesia, if
They bill separately than
dude,
the
you could get
yeah.
me for 3 hours talking about healthcare in this country. Sorry.
So many people have had that experience. So like when you come see me, it's X dollars and it will never be more, it will never be less. It will be that regardless.
Yeah, the transparency.
So that helps a lot. Yeah. So it is an objection, but honestly, a lot of the people, they recognize the value in it, especially with the niche that I've kind of carved out, like grapplers, combat sports athletes, wrestlers, especially. Like, I'm not trying to be like cocky, arrogant, or anything, but like, no, if you have a wrestling, grappling, combat sports related injury, like, you should come see me. I've literally spent the last more than 5 years, like 5 years before I even got to chiropractic school, like learning about this stuff, specifically grappling, combat sports related injuries. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be your best shot at, number one, diagnosing and identifying the problem, figuring out how we can, overcome those problems, and then how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. Like, I can give you all of that.
Would you say that that's predominantly the majority of your clients right now is like
100%.
athletes?
Yeah. Active individuals for sure. And then most of them, through some weird way, are involved in jiu-jitsu or wrestling.
How many, like what percentage of those injuries that come in do you feel like chiropractic care alone could fix?
Oh, geez. Outside of, if you need injections or surgery, which we're very good at identifying when that needs to happen, yeah, we can help everything.
Is that like the minority of the cases?
Oh,
you think?
literally like less than 1%.
No shit.
Yeah.
So like out of 100 people, one would be like, hey, you need to go see a doctor.
Less than 1%. So for spinal
Or
related
like a surgeon
pain,
or something.
Yeah. So for spinal related pain specifically, and I do more than just the spine, but for spinal related pain, less than 1% of those low back pain patients need something other than conservative musculoskeletal care in a chiropractic or PT office.
Wow.
And you can screen for those with certain questions that you're asking. Hey, you have fever, did you fall? All these different things help rule out red flags. And if there are red flags, you can dive in even deeper and be like, okay, is this really a red flag or is it more of a yellow? We need to monitor it. If it turns red, then we send you to someone that is
like a specialist in that field,
like injection, pain management, or surgery, ortho neurosurgery. But yeah, less than 1% is somebody that is a surgical candidate. Yeah.
Here's one last question I have in terms of like the inquiry in the field, and then we can just banter about the actual like lived experience of being an entrepreneur and a chiropractor. Yeah. My last thing is like a lot of healthcare is like not preventative, but like reactive care, right? So like I'm not coming in to see a chiropractor to prevent pain. I'm feeling pain. Mm-hmm. Do you think that chiropractic care has a role to play in also like the prevention of higher classifications of injury? So like even if I don't necessarily feel hurt, like going in, it could be something as simple as an adjustment.
Yep.
Or it can be something as complex as like, actually, dude, like I can see that you're like not having full range of motion here, so it might not be pain.
Yep.
But you're not 100%.
Yeah.
I'm kind of.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, 100%. So I'll explain it to patients, like engineer patients, people that are in the engineering field seem to get it. But like, yeah, you think your body as like a mechanical object. It's not. But if one of those mechanical objects isn't moving well and you ask that that mechanical object to perform a task, like it's going to do it, but that stress is going to get directed differently to other mechanical parts, right? So you take somebody that's dealing with shoulder pain or something, or not even pain, a shoulder limitation. Well, if their shoulder doesn't move and they have to reach for that hot sauce on your shelf there, okay, well, maybe that movement's going to come from the shoulder blade and not just the shoulder. Okay, now we're overstressing the muscles in the shoulder blade that they're not necessarily designed to do that. It should be coming from your
'Cause you're
shoulder.
compensating.
Yeah, so a lot of times we can identify those restrictions or limitations through like simple movement screens, putting them in different strength and conditioning positions. And then, yeah, it's like, hey, well, what are your goals? Like, is your goal to train jujitsu until you're 50? Well, guarantee you're not going to do that if you can't reach over your head with your shoulder. And then
Do I know a lot of brown belts and
Yeah.
purple belts that'll prove you wrong?
Well,
They walk around like this. Dude, you could cast like the next Mummy movie from a jiu-jitsu gym.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. And I talk about this on some of my Instagram posts, but like wrestlers, grapplers, combat sports athletes, like we need somebody to advocate for us in terms of like, hey, like this isn't just about you being tough. Like this is about you like actually having an issue and not just like, oh, I'm going to grit my teeth and bear through it and I'll be okay if given enough rest. Yeah, until you're not. And then you're not doing jujitsu. And then, you start doing all this other stuff that you wouldn't have done if you just would have gotten help to begin with. So, yeah, like that's why I feel like I've been able to carve out a pretty decent niche in the area with those athletes. Number one, the trust, like I'm in there doing it with them or coaching.
I'm sure that helps. Because then they feel like at least
Yeah.
when they're talking to you, you understand what they're saying.
For sure. And then also it's like, hey, like I've dealt with my own stuff and I know this stuff works. Like it's not like I'm just like selling you something I've never tried. Like I've done all this stuff. Low back pain my entire competitive career, especially in college, and never got solved really. Nobody could give me the answers. And yeah, and then in chiropractic school, you start learning stuff and you're like, how did this is exactly what I was experiencing. And if I just would have got a different perspective, somebody that understood the chiropractic world, the physical medicine world, and the sport of wrestling, they would have pieced this together like nothing. Like if I saw that in my office 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh yeah, hip flexor pain, easy. We just need to get it stronger, get his low back a little bit more stable, get his hip a little bit more mobile, and he's going to be good. So yeah, just, yeah. I feel like I've been very lucky in my life experiences. That's allowed me to kind of get to where I'm at now. And I literally love what I do. Like I go into work excited to help these patients get better and get back to the activities that they might be missing out on. Yeah, it's
God
great.
bless.
It's great.
I'm going to ask 2 entrepreneurship related questions and then the floor is yours. Number 1, what has been the most difficult part of that process of starting your own practice?
Jeez.
If you had to isolate it to one thing. Was it sales?
I thought I was organized. I mean, sales is always that's tough, especially when it's in healthcare. It gets sleazy really quickly. But I always just hang.
He says at the jiu-jitsu gym, breaking limbs, ooh, you should see me later.
I would never. But it's at the end of the day, and I had a mentor tell me this. He looked at me and was like, "Well, do you think you're the best option to solve their problem?" Yes, unequivocally, yes. If it's a grappler, combat sport athlete with a real issue, 100%. And then even if it was somebody else, I would still think that, but maybe less so because, but grapplers, wrestlers, 100%. That's my jam.
I also thought the name is genius. D1.
Yeah.
Smart
You
man.
like that?
Yeah, that was clever.
So yeah, just asking myself, do I think I'm the best option for them? And can I actually help? If it's yes to those, then I've gotten over the sales part of it with that. But I think the organizational, there's just the day-to-day, oh, hey, did I, note this in this patient's note? Okay, I gotta go back and check. Oh, crap, did I update this person's online rehab? Okay, I gotta go in and do that. Like, just having systems in place that keep me organized. And I am a very organized person, or so I thought until I got into business. So, but it's a learning curve, and I'm definitely figuring it out. I have a lot of good mentors to bounce ideas off of, and
I was going to ask you that question. Next is like, so like for me, I have like business mentors. They're not necessarily in like the same industry that I'm in.
That is the next step for me.
Yeah. So like I was going to ask you, so you say you have mentors. Are they all chiropractors?
They're all involved.
Or not chiropractors or
formal mentors like that I actually talk business with. Yeah, they're all chiropractors or physical therapists.
Well, that could also be very beneficial, like especially at this part, because like you're also trying to learn the inner workings of that industry.
Yeah, for sure.
But then I would say that like past that, man, I just, like I said, like my mentors, they don't understand like any of the businesses I'm doing,
which is a good thing.
That's what I was gonna say, because whenever I present to them like, this is the hurdle I have, this is the roadblock, they will present a completely different perspective that like I would have never even thought about. But it was like it's out of ignorance. Like they don't see, they are uninhibited by their vision and like what they perceive as a hurdle based on their circumstances. And sometimes that has been exactly what I needed to see. Like, oh yeah, you're right. It's not that big of a fucking deal. I don't know why I was blowing it up. Like, you're right. I'm 2 steps away from like completely, like you were saying about like Iowa or Oklahoma, like instead of just like outworking the problem, I'm just going to find a different path.
Yeah.
It's been very beneficial to me personally. Yeah. But also, you know, I'm not in the medical field, so I want to be careful.
Oh no, it is. That is the next step, is finding mentors outside of the healthcare realm, because exactly what you said, they identify solutions from a completely different perspective, and it's oftentimes something you would have never thought. Luckily, I'm not hitting any bottlenecks currently, so that's good. But I'm going to get there if I want to accomplish my goals.
Can I ask you one last question? Forgive me, because I was just thinking about this, about the financial hurdle, about it's kind of a broad question, but I wonder if, first of all, how would you feel if there was a system in place where instead of like paying health insurance to like knock some of these things off, more healthcare was transparent, and that it was just about financing the same way we finance like vehicles and things like that. So like, let's say, I'm just going to throw out some numbers there. Like, let's say like someone comes to you with a problem and you're like, hey, like you're going to need 12 sessions with me to like fix this issue. And the person goes like, hey, listen, I just don't have 12 sessions worth of capital. And you're like, that's fine. What you can do is we'll offer like a financing method, and you can just pay that off monthly with some sort of bank or whatever. I'm kind of throwing a hypothetical out here, but do you think that would help or hurt in your business?
Well, yeah, I don't do that currently. I don't think anyone it gets
does,
really tricky when you start
getting financing and banks and stuff like that.
So actually, there's a kid that graduated from my chiropractic.
Forgive me. Does anyone do that?
Not that I know of. Not if you're. So there's ways around it. I think it would be illegal to finance it. But actually,
well, what do you call paying with a credit card? Actually, it's not illegal. Because if I pay you with a credit card, I'm financing my care. That's true. The only difference is maybe I could do it through like a reputable bank who is connected with you at maybe like 6% interest instead of 21% or 30% that the credit card's going to charge me. Because that is actually the number one cause of credit card defaults and bankruptcies is healthcare.
Actually, that does make sense.
It's already being done.
Maybe you can. I'll tell you this. I know people that work chiropractors, which is wild, that work completely online, and you just do like virtual rehab and that stuff with these patients.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, like, do you even need that? Like, I forgive me, because I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole right now, but like, you don't even necessarily need that. Like, I'm throwing a hypothetical out to you. Let's say like the money was the hurdle that prevented someone from getting care from you. Couldn't you just do a payment plan with them?
You can do a payment plan.
You'd be like, okay, you can't afford the session. Well, then just pay it off over the course of like $100 every 2 weeks, or maybe $200 a month, and then you'll pay off your sessions whenever you pay them off, but I can give you the care now.
Yes.
That's an option,
No,
right?
you can 100% do that. You can have like a...
So you don't have to finance it, you can just pay as you
pay
go.
monthly. You can do that for sure. But
how do you feel about that as an option?
Yeah,
like
I give that an option.
Okay.
Like if I present a treatment plan and it's going to be 3 months long, okay, like...
That's a lot of money, yeah.
We'll split it up. How many payments do you need, right?
God bless.
again, that gets really tricky though from a patient compliance standpoint. You know, because, you know, then they might get through, you know, a month of care, think they're good because they're out of pain, and then they drop off, So it does get tricky, but
forgive me. I'm also I'm
you're
ignorant
good.
to this, so
You're
I'm
good.
kind of like
You're
just
good.
curious.
But so anyways, back to what I was saying about the virtual, they call it like health coaching, and then you can do whatever you want essentially after that.
No shit.
Yeah, because you're not diagnosing anything. You're essentially just like a personal trainer, prescribing exercise to fix a mobility restriction. But you can I know people that do financing for that sort of stuff. But it's all online.
Yeah.
I think that gets really, again, like we talked about earlier, like selling healthcare, like it can be very sleazy very easily.
While I agree, like on face value, I would make the argument that like nothing's sleazier than how it's done now. Like even if you have health insurance,
I would
because there's
agree.
no
I
transparency.
would
You are getting billed 16 different times for 15 different resources that you didn't even know you were using because no one even told you. They were just kind of getting you through the method.
But that's the status quo. People expect it, right?
I would make the argument that like, you know, a payment plan or financing like transparent care is much less sleazy than the current healthcare status quo. Like
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Because like I was just thinking about that all. Not to get too doom and gloom with how things are, what trajectory they're going. I think financing is going to become. I think there's going to be a correlation to more financing, not less financing in the future. So that's why I asked that question.
Really?
Yeah, without question. I mean, the value of your dollar is depleting every day. Economic prosperity is not the same that it was in previous generations. And you're telling everybody that the only way that they can get ahead in life is to hold assets, not dollars. So then it wouldn't make sense that people have dollars on hand to pay for like an upfront cost unless you finance it either through a credit card at 30% or through personal financing. There's personal financing for everything. Like you can do zero. You can finance phones when you buy the new ones, right? Like when you get a new iPhone or whatever, you don't even have to buy the iPhone anymore. You can just, hey, do 24 payments, and it's technically financing, but what you're really doing is just like breaking out that payment monthly. So like that's what I was saying. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a bank. It could be something as simple as a provider, you're saying, hey, instead of one payment or two payments or three payments over the course of 3 months, we can do 18 months 0% until you pay it off, and then I don't know.
Well, and I think it gets tricky when you start.
You have to trust them too. You're done with the stuff, and maybe. I don't know.
Oh, it gets tricky.
I'm not.
I think I don't actually
I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Know the lot. I think it. I don't know.
There might be a lot of people sitting there like, you're an idiot. Like, why would you ever want to finance healthcare? And I was like, well, because like, what if you can afford $1,800 of care over the course of like a year, but you can't afford it over the course of a month?
Yep.
And then what are you going to tell the person? Like, okay, just hurt.
Yep.
Like, if money is the hurdle to. If the only hurdle to a better quality of life is money, I feel like that's the easiest hurdle to overcome because you can decide how you do that. Yep. You know what I mean? It's the other things that are like, you know, that are a little bit more difficult to overcome, like logistics. Like what if you don't have care available to you? Doesn't matter how much money you have. Actually, if you had enough money, you could just fly. Sorry, dude. I appreciate you coming down. I hope this is what you expected. I always love when someone else is, and I kind of glaze the wrestling community a lot because I have such an affinity towards the sport. But you were saying earlier that like you just like to be around wrestlers because like they're your kind of people. Mm-hmm. I agree with that statement 100%.
Yeah, they're the best. Have you ever been to NCAA's?
No.
You're going next year, right?
I don't know.
It's in St. Louis.
I know, but like I can't say for certain because I don't know where I'm gonna be. Does that make sense?
Like you might not be in St. Louis?
I might not be in St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
well,
okay.
I'm not saying like I'm moving.
Oh, okay. I was like, damn, all right, you invite me on the podcast, thought we were going to be friends, now you're leaving?
No. I have some things that I'm working on, and one of those projects is going to require a lot more travel.
I gotcha.
So like I feel bad saying this because it sounds so douchey. I truly don't know.
So well, if you're here,
yes,
we'll freaking...
I'll go.
At the very least, we'll go out after the tournament and have a good time.
You know what? When is it?
March. I don't know the date. End of March.
But
middle March, end of March.
I'll take all. Like I will make sure that for the whole month of March I'm in town. I'm down to go.
Dude, it's a great time. It's a great time. You get to watch wrestling, and it's a bunch of wrestlers.
Highest level wrestling.
Yeah, a bunch of wrestlers
outside of the Olympics. Forgive me.
Honestly, I would argue NCAA's is maybe a harder tournament.
No shit.
It's freaking tough, man.
The Olympics?
Because most,
I don't know.
the level, like you're Olympic champ, honestly, a lot of our NCAA champs are beating Olympic champs, though. So, but like the grind of that tournament, like the Olympics, I think you have to win 3. I think you wrestle first round, semis, and then you're in the finals. So it's 3 matches. NCAA is 5. If you lose, God fucking, you're
those
fucked.
wrestlebacks are
You're
brutal.
fucked.
Brutal.
Like you have like 6, 7 matches minimum. And then every round you advance. Step up in competition. Oh, you want? Oh, yeah, you got somebody a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I had to explain that to my wrestlers at state. I go, the easiest path to medal at state is win your first 2 matches.
Yeah.
I was like, if you win your first 2 matches, you medal. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, you can win your first 2 matches, lose your next 3, and you still get 6th place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that that's what you want to do.
No, but yeah,
but
that's how it
if
works.
you want 6th place and you lose your first match, you're going to have to wrestle, I think, 4 more times just to see if you're in medaling.
Yep.
I was like, you just have to wrestle more. Toby won his first, lost his second, and then had to like go through awful matches just to place 6th. And I was like, dude, you would have life would have been so much easier.
You would have.
Actually, no. He lost his first match against the kid he was supposed to smoke. Against the kid.
That's rough.
Yeah. That one was rough for me too. I was like,
good for him for not quitting.
and
that's,
then came back.
Yeah,
Bro,
that's,
off record, I'll tell you about his state run.
Yeah.
2 matches, he was getting dogged, turns it around and pins the kids to win. One kid he was losing to 3-13, went unconscious. The kid was trying to pin Toby, and I guess he had like an illegal hold or whatever, and Toby was fighting the pin and went out. Toby comes back to pin the kid. So like comes back from consciousness, 30 seconds on the clock, down 10 points, turns around and sticks the kid on the edge of the mat with like 5 seconds left. I swear to God, I lost my shit.
I knew I liked that kid.
I swear to God, I lost my shit. He's cut from a cloth. I don't think to your point earlier when you were like these kids doing stuff that we didn't do. I didn't do shit like that in high school.
Yeah.
I did not do shit like that in high school.
What? Are you guys 3A?
No, 2. We're class 2.
You guys are 2? I didn't realize that.
But we are
So
we are one of the bigger schools in class 2.
Okay.
Like if we go to class 3 in the next couple of years, it wouldn't shock me.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's so weird for a school down in that area. I feel like it's such a populated area to have a small school. Because you have Oakville, Afton,
a lot of metropolitan
Lindbergh.
area. Like we are like 3 square miles, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like in those 3 square miles, we have like 900 kids at the high school. So like Bayless, for instance, has like 500, and they're like just up the street from us. Yeah, they're far less than us.
St. Louis makes no sense
It
with how
doesn't.
they do the high schools around here.
doesn't.
It like instead of just building like a bigger one high school, they'll build like 2 other high schools right there.
It's honestly weird too because there's also like the separation of like the St. Louis County and St. Louis City.
Yes, yes.
Which don't get me wrong, I live in the city and I would much rather be choosed over the governance of the county than the city because the people that are running the city currently are running it into the ground. Personally, that's my opinion. That being said, the way the county functions is wild. It's just weird. Yeah. Every municipality has like its own like mayor and everything.
Well,
that
was the downfall of St. Louis. All the municipalities, they were all competing for the same resources.
Yeah. It's over legislation too,
it
because
together.
like think about it logically. Like you could realistically put Bayless, Afton, maybe add like one more small school in the area and get like a much bigger school, and then be in class 4
and have a bunch of good athletes at one school. It makes a ton of sense.
And pool all these resources. Instead, you like separate them and like I think Bayless doesn't even have a wrestling team because they don't have enough kids. You know what I mean? So it's like one of these things. Like if you go to Bayless, sorry Bayless, or they might have a wrestling team now. I hope I'm wrong, but if you are unlucky enough to just be in a school that because of its size doesn't necessarily have the resources to have these programs, then you don't even get the benefits of the possibilities.
Nope.
And that's a shame.
I agree.
So
it's crazy. So Francis House Central, I think. Well, actually, I don't know. In St. Charles County, they do school like districts for like towns or whatever. So like St. Charles, St. Peter's is a Francis Howell school district. So we have Francis Howell Central, Francis Howell North. All 3 of us like have like a few wrestlers that are like
Studs.
Nails, and it's like, man, what a shame. Like all these kids could have been getting better wrestling each other for 4 years in the same room.
I also I don't
And it's
know
like
why it's that.
now you have 3 high schools.
Do they separate it? Wait, Francis Howell is class 2 for
We're
girls.
all 4A.
You're 4, class 4 for.
We're all 4.
No, I know, but for girls, there's only 2 classes. So the
We're all
girls,
big. We're all
you're
big
2,
divisions,
and then for the
yes.
boys, you're 4.
Yes.
So you're already a big school, actually. Maybe that's why.
But it's not that. I think Francis South Central has less than 2,000 kids.
That's a lot, dude. Afton has 900 in total.
The high school I went to had like, I think close to 4,000.
That's a big fucking high school.
That's how they do it in Florida, I guess.
Well, I think it's population density. We don't have the same population here in St.
Yeah, I
Louis.
guess you're right.
But
I feel like you could have a mega high school for one school district and it'd be like, I guess that's 6,000 kids. That's
that's a lot
school,
though, because
but-
here's the thing. I said to possibly get Bayless and Afton together, you'd have like, what, 1,500 kids.
Yeah.
So if I
That'd be
combined
doable.
Afton and Bayless, we're still smaller than Francis Howell Central,
Yeah.
to put it in perspective. And then what are you going to do at state is like, how are you going to do that? Because if you create mega schools, who's the 6,000 kid school going to compete against? The 2,000 kid school? Because you're already class 4. You see what I'm
I think it
saying?
should all be one division.
You think?
I
And the
love it.
best?
I love it.
That's-
Like Indiana, California. Who else does it? I think just
That's so
Indiana and
savage,
California. Oh, it's so.
It's the epitome of dog
It
eat
sucks.
dog.
It sucks for a lot of kids that would place if there were more divisions. But oh man, that'd be so cool to be like, no, I'm the state champ, and there's nobody else at my weight. that
Yeah,
can
like
say
a
that.
true champ.
Yeah.
That is the caveat, right? I feel so bad. There's some kids that I know that are in a class 1 school, and they'll state medalists and stuff like that, and it's them saying it. So like I don't feel bad repeating it, but like they'll be like, yeah, I was a 3rd place, but it's class 1. And I'm like, why are you diminishing your own achievement, man? That's still amazing. He's like, we're the smallest schools. Yeah. I was like, still like. I don't know. Would you have liked it more if you were competing against class 4 and getting dogged? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
But
maybe
you think those kids would get? I don't think they.
I think a lot of the class 1
dogged.
schools would get absolute dogged.
I didn't watch any of the class 1 to be honest.
Yeah, so
I mean,
class
there's
1
good
and 2 at state.
wrestlers, though.
Of course, that's not what I'm saying.
The
I'm saying there are
teams,
good
though,
wrestlers. What
yeah.
I'm saying is the allocation of resources, similar to the conversation we were having about name, image, and likeness in college. It's like, dude, you only have 400 kids, 500 kids. Like, even if you are a stud, how many other people do you have in the room?
I wonder what the conversation was like in like California and Indiana when they decided to do that. I wonder what their reasoning was. 'Cause I wonder if it's like that for all sports too. Because I just know about
I know for a
wrestling.
fact, like in football, I think they have 7 classes in football in the state of Missouri.
Oh, I'm saying in California and Indiana though, if they have one class for football.
I don't think
Or-
they do.
yeah, I don't think so
they
they
do.
do
But
either.
I'm saying in like the state of Missouri, for instance, we have 4
6,
classes
yeah.
for
Mhm.
wrestling,
And
and I
6
think
for
6 for football. Sorry. So it's like, well, what's that distinction? You know what I mean?
Same in Florida. I think there's 7 for football and there's only 3 for wrestling. So.
I think it makes sense to do it because there are circumstances outside of the kid's control. But then what happens is inevitably how many of these kids are like picking and choosing. Like they might not be moving cross state lines, but I'll tell you what a lot of families are doing. They're moving into different school districts.
Yeah.
Or we have one lady who's like a teacher at Afton, and but they live in. I don't want to say where they live because I don't want to say too much. But their son goes to a different school. I think this is class 3 or class 4. Didn't qualify for state, right? And they're actively thinking like, dude, if we bring him to Afton, like he will fucking mop the floor with some of these kids. For instance, like him and Toby were going at it, and Toby medaled at state. Meanwhile, he didn't even qualify for state. To give you kind of like a small perspective of this, I don't know if they're going to do that, but it's just a conversation that was had. And why do they want to do that? Because if he doesn't even qualify for state at class 3, how is he going to get a college scholarship?
he's
How is he
got
going to
no
get any of these things?
recognition.
Exactly.
Russell at Fargo.
You have to. That's the thing. That's the last question I want to ask, actually.
Yeah.
What's most important, do you think, in terms of like getting a college scholarship? Is it state or is it the tournaments outside of state? What do you think?
I'm not hating on Greco at all. I love Greco. But I think the easiest route, I don't want to say the easiest route, being good at Greco and placing at Fargo or winning Fargo and Greco will get you a ton of recognition because they're college coaches that we did it at SIUE. Hey, all right, like looking through, okay, this kid won. You're only looking at like the top 2 or 3 kids for every weight. You see that name over and over again. Okay, he won Fargo. All right, he won state. I took 4th at Super 32, but you see his name over and over. So, but you gotta have a. I don't think you have to. It really helps to get a first place at one of those big tournaments.
But would you say that those big tournaments are greater than or equal to
state-
state?
I think your state tournament's probably the most important, I would say.
That's what I thought as well.
You got to be a state.
I mean, I think
champ.
they're all important to your point, but I think like what means the most is like showing up and doing it for that one. Not that Fargo isn't the same thing. It is.
Well, I think the thing with Fargo is it's a good gauge of like, hey, in college, you're wrestling kids on a national stage.
Yeah.
It's not just your state. So I think Fargo, Super 32, NHSCA Nationals, Virginia Beach is what they call it. I think those are important to do well at. But really, you win Greco, talent pool, it is what it is. There's just less people that wrestle Greco. It's a little bit less competitive. You freaking win that. Now you got some
eyeballs.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
you.
you got some clout for sure.
Gotta-
But yeah, state
I'm
tournament
gonna
for sure.
start teaching Greco.
Dude, I don't know why these kids are so resistant to learn Greco. Maybe it's because they don't want to get thrown, and it's like most of Greco's not throws. It's like arm drags, front headlocks, like simple stuff. And your hand fighting will be so much better if you're good
Overnight,
at Greco.
yeah.
Like, because that's all it is. It's straight up hand fighting.
I also think that Greco is actually the best wrestling style for MMA.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
yeah.
even the shot, the takedown just leaves you so susceptible to so many submissions and so many strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of the throws kind of negate a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that stand up, you can close the distance and you're right into a Greco style like position anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why judo,
Mhm.
that's why a lot of judo guys have a lot of success in MMA
Yep.
too, because it's like a similar style.
Yep.
Anyway, Ross, before we put a cap on it, brother, is there anything else you want to say? The floor is yours.
No, man, I appreciate it. Appreciate having me out, and yeah, it's freaking. This is my life. Like the last year is just like, just making sure I'm like everywhere that has an opportunity to learn or teach or coach in a wrestling or grappling or combat sports setting, and literally without St. Charles MMA, we would never connected. So it's just funny how that stuff works. The wrestling community, the jiu-jitsu community, the MMA community, it's a special brand of person, and yeah, I'm proud to be a part of it, and really just super excited that I get to talk to people like you and meet people like you, and yeah. Hopefully you don't leave St. Louis, because
No.
we see us hanging out at NCAA's next March, man.
We will. I'll make a point of that. And I also wanted to say thank you for opening up your doors. I know it's like kind of like through Mike, but like you going in, giving your time, doing those Sunday classes, and letting
Dude,
my
I
kids
love it.
come in. I appreciate that.
I love it, man. They're
So-
good kids too, man. Good kids.
I'll tell them that. Brother, I appreciate you.
Yeah, 100%, man.